Hello, good morning everyone. Welcome to day 2 of the Wireless Global Congress Paris. So I'm Thiago Rodrigues, the CEO of the Wireless Broadband Alliance. Pleasure to be here with all of you and thank you for coming for the WBA Congress. I just want to start by once more reinforce the important support of all the sponsors of the event. Without the support of these companies, we could not set up and run this type of information sharing and sessions. I want as well to leave a message to all the industry award winners, participants, and even the judges. So thank you and congratulations for being part of these industry awards. We had a lot of fun yesterday for those of you that were here, and many of you as well celebrated throughout the evening on our networking reception party. And for that, of course, thank you to Boeing Wireless and Cisco for making that evening possible and sponsoring the reception networking party. For today, we have a quite interesting agenda. We'll cover topics on sustainability, energy efficiency, but as well Wi-Fi offload, and we talk about residential Wi-Fi and how to make our houses smarter, either with Wi-Fi, but as well with Wi-Fi sensing and other technologies. So the agenda for this first part of the morning, we'll have the participation of Kevin Robinson, the CEO of Wi-Fi Alliance. Then we'll have Dr. Ali Bagheri from Interleague talking about sustainability, followed by a panel on the same topic. And after that, we'll have Juan Turv from EMEA to talk about Wi-Fi offload, followed by a panel on the smart home. And we'll end the first part of the morning with cognitive systems talking about Wi-Fi sensing. With this, I will invite the first speaker of the morning just to join us here on stage. So I welcome Kevin Robinson, my friend from Wi-Fi Alliance. Kevin, welcome. Always a pleasure to have you on our Congress.
So thank you, Thiago. It's always a pleasure to be here with Wireless Broadband Alliance. Of course, Wi-Fi Alliance and WBA have had a partnership going back for many, many years. And I think I would say that the industry and really people around the world are better for it, for the collaboration that we've been able to do. So as Thiago said, I'm Kevin Robinson, the CEO of Wi-Fi Alliance. And of course, Wi-Fi Alliance is the worldwide network of companies that brought you Wi-Fi. We focus in a lot of different areas, and we've been delivering value to the industry for going on 25 years now. But there are really just a few focus areas that we've been kind of drilling in on more recently, with everything from making sure that we're driving the next generation of Wi-Fi technology, with really Wi-Fi Certified 7 right around the corner. Of course, focus on our broader promise of interoperability and consistency of experience in devices to make sure that users are getting what they expect out of their Wi-Fi devices, regardless of brand, and ultimately allowing the industry to be more successful through that. Increasingly, we're starting to work with other organizations that, let's say, deliver complementary technologies. I've used the example of Wireless Broadband Alliance, where we've had a strong partnership around Passpoint and Open Roaming for some time. But there are other organizations out there, groups like the Connectivity Standards Alliance, which some of you may have heard from yesterday if you were in the audience, where really serving very complementary roles and solving the broader challenges that the Wi-Fi industry is facing. And then finally, and the one I'm going to drill in a little bit deeper on today, is the work we've been doing around ensuring global 6 gigahertz harmonization. And again, this is incredibly important for the future of Wi-Fi in the industry as a whole. So it's been a multi-year mission for the Alliance to really advance 6 gigahertz innovation and opportunity. Both the Alliance and many of our leading companies have been out there speaking with regulators, policymakers, the industry at large, to make sure they understand really the opportunity that 6 gigahertz presents and why it is so essential to the future of Wi-Fi. The Alliance has been very, very clear on this, that it's important, really essential, that we get the full 6 gigahertz band in as many geographies as possible. And we're going to learn a little bit about that from the sustainability angle. Obviously, there's the capabilities that come with it, but today, since I'm sure you all have heard about Wi-Fi 7 and 6 gigahertz quite a bit over the week, I'm going to take a slightly different angle on that and focus on sustainability. We've been out there really emphasizing the benefits of 6 gigahertz in meeting aggressive connectivity goals. So it's both the capabilities that are needed, let's say in use case goals, and how do we deliver on some of these emerging use cases, but it's also broader connectivity goals that policymakers around the world have in terms of connecting their entire populations and ensuring that they get good connectivity to drive their economies and economic growth. And then finally, increasingly being more focused on sustainably advancing global connectivity initiatives. And really, I think the last two, in a way, have kind of an interplay, right? You have policymakers, let's say, focused on these broader connectivity goals, connecting the unconnected, delivering gigabit access to everyone in their countries. But then they kind of have this parallel goal of sustainability. And how do you merge those two and actually accomplish both of those goals in a way that is kind of the optimal outcome? And so again, we've been really very much focused on those last two pieces on how we make the case for Wi-Fi in particular as kind of the engine of connectivity, but also the importance of 6 gigahertz and the full 6 gigahertz band. So let's kind of dive into each of those three. And I apologize, everybody has probably seen this channel map about 6,000 times now since we've been talking about 6 gigahertz. But I'm going to take a slightly different angle on it, I think. So let's talk a little bit about why it matters. Obviously, we have geographies like the United States that are looking at the entire 1,200 megahertz. We have geographies such as Europe that are, I think, we're confident in, we've got the lower portion, but there's still discussion on this upper portion. So why does it matter whether Wi-Fi and other unlicensed technologies get access to this upper portion? Well, the one piece of it, and this you have heard from us probably before, is, yes, there are emerging use cases that require these 320 megahertz channels. They're really exciting, right? And there are going to be some mainstream use cases, particularly as you get into, let's say, kind of on-body, things like VR, AR headsets communicating with a smartphone in your pocket that are going to probably take advantage of these super wide channels. But today, there's a more immediate challenge, and that has to do with spectrum planning and how you actually lay out these high-performance networks in increasingly dense environments. And so a rule of thumb often people will throw around is you need at least 7 channels for frequency reuse. In some very dense deployments, I think like Cisco has quoted in some cases like 20 plus channels that they'll actually use in some stadiums. So if you have this lower portion of the band with a requirement for 7 channels, you're in 80, maybe even 40 megahertz channels still, right? And so that's a challenge in delivering the performance we want. Whereas, of course, if you have the full band, you now have those channels available to you. So now the other piece here is really a very pragmatic one, which is the devices that you're buying right now, whether it's the latest iPhone, the latest Galaxy device, the latest Pixel, whether it's the latest home routers or, routers, the latest home routers or the latest enterprise access points that are going to be coming out, are going to have support for the full 6 gigahertz band. You're paying for that. The capability is there. It's just simply disabled in the geographies that have not made it all available. And in fact, in some cases, in particularly geographies that are not aligned with the major markets, you might even be paying more for a device that has fewer capabilities than other regions. So again, it's a very pragmatic argument of, why not enable what the vendors are already putting into all the devices that are going to increasingly be in your pockets? If not, you're going to get a degraded connectivity experience compared to what you might already have. We had an interesting discussion with related to FIFA and World Cup. And of course, in Americas, you're going to have World Cup games in Canada, US, and Mexico. Well, what happens when you have fans that are going to games in the US? And those stadiums are actually planning connectivity and user and attendee experiences, assuming they have all of this spectrum. And you're going to have one experience. You're going to get on a plane, you're going to go down perhaps, let's say, to Mexico, where they don't yet have the full 1200 megahertz, and you're going to have a degraded experience. Some of those applications are simply not going to be available. So again, very pragmatic. It's going to be a worse experience for those that don't have the full access. The next piece, and this I have talked a bit about if you've heard me speak previously, is there are massive investments going into fiber deployments. These are just 3 examples here. First one is a service provider in Bahrain. You have, of course, Comcast, Xfinity in the US, Cox also in the US. I think there was an announcement from AT&T recently of, I think it was north of $40 billion being invested in fiber networks, obviously to support 5G as well as in-home, but massive fiber investments going on. Well, what happens if you can't actually get that fiber capacity into the end device, right? And so we've been very bullish and very, I say critical, but very focused on highlighting that you need both of them together. And again, it gets to these broader connectivity goals that I think policymakers need to focus on. So Wi-Fi is ultimately necessary to deliver the benefits of these massive fiber and multi-gigabit backhaul investments. And these are not 10 years out. I mean, there are many areas now that are moving into minimum gigabit speeds into the home, and increasingly 4+ gigabit into the home. And then finally, Wi-Fi sustainably advances global connectivity. And I'm going to touch on a couple of these and then actually dig in on one on the next slide. But when you look at Wi-Fi, one of the ways we contribute to sustainability is, frankly, you don't need to travel as much, right? Yes, there are the cases where the face-to-face interaction is absolutely necessary. But how many of us are no longer going into the office every single day? How many of us are no longer flying to all of the events around the world, maybe only some of them? How many people are maybe able to head home a little bit early and catch the tail end of the event because you have the connectivity that is increasingly delivered through Wi-Fi? In addition, obviously with Wi-Fi, you have a low-power technology optimized for indoor connectivity. Then when paired with fixed backhaul, whether that be fiber, maybe legacy cable, you're able to deliver a much more efficient and sustainable connection. And then finally, and this is what I'm digging in a little bit on, lower energy consumption and greenhouse gas emissions than alternate approaches to delivering connectivity. And what I'm really going to focus in on here is policies that, let's say, encourage more of an outside-in delivery of connectivity versus those that are more focused on getting power-efficient connectivity into the home and then using Wi-Fi to ultimately deliver it. One of the examples I'll sometimes use is many people have now gone, let's say, in irrigation. It used to be you had these huge lawn sprinklers, just kind of sprayed water all over the place, let's say, to water your gardens. Well, many people have kind of gone to drip irrigation, right? Like, why spray the entire garden when you can deliver water exactly where you need it in a more efficient way? So now let's kind of jump into kind of the key takeaway and some of the actual data that backs up what I'm saying about fiber plus Wi-Fi. So the key takeaway is that 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi plus fiber is the most sustainable way to deliver connectivity needs. Wi-Fi Alliance recently commissioned a study, and it looked at, from a sustainability greenhouse gas perspective, what is the impact of, let's say, taking a strategy where you provide the full 1200 megahertz of 6 gigahertz spectrum and rely on Wi-Fi and fiber or fixed to the home to deliver that connectivity versus providing only a portion of the band. And again, what does that look like from a greenhouse gas emissions perspective? So in scenario one, we have, and this is looking specifically at Europe, right? So these numbers would actually be larger globally. But looking by 2030 in Europe, with the scenario where we have the entire 6 gigahertz band, We've previously done studies on how much spectrum is needed for Wi-Fi to deliver on the full experience going forward. So with this, we would have the expected levels of traffic and traffic growth that we're seeing indoors, and that being served by Wi-Fi because we have the full 6 gigahertz band. In scenario 2, policymakers, let's say, have allocated the upper portion of the band to IMT instead. So what is the impact of that? It means that, particularly in more dense environments, you may have additional traffic that would have been able to be served by Wi-Fi is now instead either not being offloaded to Wi-Fi, or people are, let's say, are trying to use mobile hotspots, things like that, to get connectivity, and that traffic is ultimately being served by an external 5G network, an IMT network outside the home or outside the building. And so looking at those two, the net result is that there is a 16% increase in energy consumption in scenario 2 versus scenario 1, which equates to, I think it's about 3.2 megawatts, or sorry, I'm totally wrong, 3.2 tons of CO2 in scenario 2 versus scenario 1. So I think the key takeaway from all of this is that not only does making the full 1200 megahertz of 6 gigahertz spectrum available to unlicensed provide massive connectivity benefits in terms of use cases we can deliver, performance delivered to the end user devices, realization of the massive investments in fiber. It also makes sense for the planet in terms of meeting sustainability goals. So with that, thank you for your time, and I guess we'll turn back over to Tiago.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you. I think we have here a last-minute drop on our agenda. So Dr. Ali is still, it's here. Dr. Ali just arrived. Okay. Okay, I knew that you were coming from Brussels. I have someone from my team waiting for you on the door, but yeah, thank you for coming. Dr. Ali, over to you.
Hello, good morning, and it's very nice to be here, and I'm sorry if I was a bit late. In fact, I missed, I think, a large part of the presentations, but as you see, I'm going to talk about the application of the Wi-Fi technology in our life, and how we can make a more sustainable cities and more sustainable buildings and societies. Well, what we are going to mainly discuss about is the application of Wi-Fi connections for a smart building and smart cities, and how we can go and revolutionize our societies by means of the Wi-Fi. I think I'm from the generation who saw the development from the no internet, then we had some internet, and then cable connections, and now we see the Wi-Fi. But I think at the beginning of 20s, we couldn't imagine how our world is going to change so fast with these connectivities. And one of the infrastructures that gave us the potential to go so much fast was the connections that we get, and improving our connectivity, and the Wi-Fi connection played a major role in this part. Well, do we really need to go for a smart buildings or smart cities, and is it necessary to go there? Well, when we are talking about the smart buildings or smart cities, we can have a very different aspects to talk about or to think about. But in my opinion, something is smart which is based on the human being is the smartest. So we have a body that is unique in comparison to all other creatures, and we have a brain which is also unique in comparison to other creatures. And the ability of decision making makes us different in comparison to everything else. In order to make a smart city or a smart building, we need to have infrastructure, and we need to give it the capability of decision making. The infrastructure for a smart building or a smart cities lies on these fast connections, data transformation, processing, and if I want to describe the Wi-Fi connection importance in this case is it works like a neural system of our body, that it gets the data from one point, transfer it to the server or to somewhere else, make a decision, and return it back to the other part. So it plays a crucial role for our developments. But wireless applications in smart buildings and smart cities, in fact, if we consider it, how it has grown from the beginning until now, we started with some simple connections, cable connections, but now we are going to the IoT. We have the connected sensors. We have the connected HVAC systems. We are getting connected to our bringing cloud computations power to our system, and all of it is possible through a very sustainable data communication network, which makes it possible by means of this wireless network at homes. But in fact, what I want to say is that what makes Wi-Fi so important for our societies is that imagine we want to make a smart building or a smart society, and we don't have all these Wi-Fi connections. What will happen is that when we are walking around, we need to have cables connected to us. We have the sensors to put in the building, and we again need to add cables everywhere in the house. But when it comes to the Wi-Fi connection, it gives us the potential to think freely, to design freely, and to be able to implement our solutions freely in what we are going to implement. In the case of the smart cities, if we want to include the smart transportation in our cities, again, we need a vehicle-to-vehicle connection, which is impossible if we do not implement the Wi-Fi connectivity or the connection between the vehicles and the roads. All of them are getting possible as much as we are increasing and improving our connectivity via the Wi-Fi communication. Well, but above making technologies, making new ideas, the thing is that it brings new habits, new culture to our society. 20 years ago, we didn't live as we are living today because of the lack of all these technologies that we are using these days. But as much as we are increasing the level of technology we have, as we are trying to make an innovation in our life, it brings by itself a new culture, a new thinking approach, a new daily routines that we try to improve our life and our social life. So with the implementation of smart buildings or smart cities, what will happen is that we can save a lot of time for thinking on more important issues, on more cultural issues, on more social issues that maybe we do not put at times. So let's put it like that you are sitting at home and you want to be worried if each time in a large buildings or small buildings, we need to put some people to take care of the controlling the lightings, heating system, energy saving, all things. But by implementation of a smart building and a smart cities, what will happen that we bring a lot of amount of thinking process and processing that we need to do by human beings. We transfer it to machines, and at the end, we can make a more sustainable and free more human resources for more, let's say, social actions and human lives. In conclusion, I can say that smart buildings or smart societies is just a simple application how the Wi-Fi connections can improve our life. We cannot go through it without having these innovations in our life. As I told you 20, 25 years ago, not everyone think or imagine to have it, but nowadays we have a lot of amount of research and a lot of amount of industry technology that's going towards these developments, and it is all because of thanks to all these new innovations and easiness that brought to our life. But the future of smart buildings and smart cities is so exciting, in my opinion, as we are going to describe about the energy optimization, CO2 reduction, CO2 emission reduction, waste management, traffic control, smart traffic, smart grids. All of them are opening areas in research and also in industry that need to care attention, needs a lot of people to put time to work on that, but at the end of the day, it will lead to have a more, let's say, smart societies that people can play more. So it has a very bright future in my opinion, and it couldn't be happen without the help of the Wi-Fi and the new, let's say, telecommunication technologies. Thank you very much, and sorry I was a bit late again, so if you have any questions, I would like to hear.
Thank you, Dr. Ali. So we'll leave the questions for the panel, so we are going to have right after Dr. Ali presentation, a panel discussion. I want to invite a close friend of the Alliance, so Monica Paulini, President of Sensafili, and Monica as well, one of the judges of the Industry Awards. So welcome, Monica.
Thanks so much, Tiago. It's an absolute pleasure to be here and to moderate the panel.
Yes, fantastic. Thank you.
Yes, I have the control now. Well, thank you so much. And I would like to invite my panelists to join me. And so we're going to talk about sustainability of Wi-Fi, and we're going to start from where Kevin and Ali left, basically. And in a way, you might think, well, you know, why are we doing a panel on Wi-Fi sustainability? Wi-Fi is doing pretty well in terms of sustainability. It's pretty sustainable, especially compared to other technologies. And in fact, I would say that it's actually pretty unfortunately that we don't talk too much about Wi-Fi sustainability in the big context of society, because how does it compare to other types of technology? How does it help? And Ali talked about it. How does it help our society in general? Smart buildings, society, homes, any business, in being more sustainable. And I think there is a lot of scope, and it's a very good story to tell. So with that, I would like to welcome our panelists here that have been doing a lot of work on this. Kevin, you already know because he's been given a presentation, is Kevin Robinson, the President and CEO of the Wi-Fi Alliance. And we have Angelos Mavridis, the Board Advisor for Sustainability at the Wireless Broadband Alliance, who's been just started on the job, and there's a lot of work ahead of him. And Dr. Ali Bagher, we just heard from Interlink. So I'd like to, I guess, introduce yourself a little bit, maybe you get, yes.
Okay, hello. I'm an old friend and colleague here in the Wireless Broadband Alliance since 2007. I have been working until the end of May for Deutsche Telekom, and I was representing Deutsche Telekom for years in the board as board member. Now, last year I initiated, I took up the topic of sustainability in order to grow, let it grow inside the alliance. And here we are today. I discovered that sustainability is in the head of effectively everybody, and everybody's thinking how to reduce emissions or energy consumption, but we need structured ways to calculate and to see the result. That we don't do something which we don't know what is exactly what and where it leads, but we have to calculate. And I think this is the most important topic. It's exciting because there are so many different methodologies out there which are difficult to compare. So shall I talk, or is for later?
Just keep going,
Okay.
going. And then
Okay, so we know the ITU L1480, which is, if you start to read it, then after the second, third page, it's getting difficult to understand. Then you have this from World Business Council for Sustainable Development, the guidance for avoided emissions. This is a nice methodology, but not with many details at the end how to do it. Others may disagree with the statement, but this is at least for somebody coming from a technical background who says how to do it. How can I give it to engineers? What is the handbook of this? What to measure, how to measure, etc. And we, let's say since February of this year, the WBA is supporting partner of the European Green Digital Coalition, which was set up last year between the European Commission and the CEOs of 39 well-known companies, European and others from the US and other companies, other continents. And they're working to develop a methodology and to agree on a common methodology how to measure the effectiveness of measures to reduce emissions in vertical business sectors.
Absolutely. And to measure, to reduce, it's already step 2. It's just to measure, to understand. It's really hard because you're not measuring just consumption, which is relatively easy, is to measure the efficiency, what that consumption is giving to you. And this is both for connectivity. So I want to go back to Kevin because he showed us that there is a 16% decrease in power consumption if we get all the 6 gigahertz, and that's pretty impressive. But I think it grossly underestimates the impact of Wi-Fi, because if you could imagine a situation where you have no Wi-Fi doesn't exist, there would be more than 16% difference. I mean, and this is within the short term, so in the long term it's going to be even more pronounced because you just have the other bands as well. And they're much more widely used. But what I wanted to ask you is, where is this coming from? It's not magic, but it's not necessarily, is it that the link, the connection link of Wi-Fi is so much more efficient than cellular, or is it because it's indoors and it's not outdoors and most of the use is indoors? Or is it a mix of the two?
So contrary to what Google actually told my daughter one time when she searched this, you're right, Wi-Fi is not magic, though it often appears that way. You know, when we did the analysis, because I think you're absolutely right, it can get incredibly complicated. Like if you want to get into every little, you know, savings here and there, when you start expanding the scope of your analysis to include things like people not going into, you know, not having to go into the office, it's incredibly complicated to actually figure out the impact. So when we did our analysis, we wanted to look at something that was very tangible, very, I think, easy for people to understand, and it was just this general trade-off of, you know, what is the power efficiencies you get from delivering connectivity by bringing in, you know, fixed broadband, fiber, for example, and then delivering over a very short distance using Wi-Fi, versus doing more of an approach where you have, you know, cell towers and you're trying to serve an indoor client, which is where the vast majority of data consumption takes place, via a tower outside. And so it was a fairly straightforward analysis, and it was looking at that, you know, do you really want to send RF energy through bricks to try and serve somebody inside? I think the example a lot of people will give is, you know, how many of you all, when you want to, you know, watch TV or let's say listen to some music, go walk your speakers out into your front lawn and then go back inside and turn them up really, really loud so you can hear them inside, right? Just, it doesn't make sense. You bring them inside, you get a great experience. And so just looking at that very simple analysis is where we got this, you know, more than 3 megatons of CO2 emissions and a 16% decrease in energy by doing more of an inside service of connectivity.
Yeah, and I think that this is really important because when you think about Wi-Fi, it's a different way to think of connectivity. It's not only a different technology, but, you know, you put, as you said, you know, you put the access point where people are and use the service where they need the connectivity. So that is like, again, it's not magic and it's hard to quantify, but intuitively you can get a good grasp of why it is so. it's not that. But anyway, Ali, what I wanted to ask you, and then we can also, we want to have your questions as well, so raise your hand. But can you give us some concrete examples of what is that Wi-Fi can do? What is that we need Wi-Fi to get smarter buildings, for instance?
What Wi-Fi can do, in fact, in the terms of smart buildings, if we want to talk about, it starts maybe to get some devices that we want to control via our phone with some applications, but nowadays that we talk about the IoT, we have all the heating, cooling, ventilation system included in the smart buildings. We have the thermostat included, we have the appliances included, we have the, let's say, the surveillance cameras included, and all these things, if you want to use old-fashioned connections, I would say it could be quite costly with the amount of the installation work you need to have, with the amount of the materials you need to use, but with the Wi-Fi connection, as you said, you just set up an access point and then all your devices can get easily connected in one place. And in addition to that, hopefully in the terms of smart buildings or in the terms of these data communications that we have in the buildings, we are not really dealing with a very heavy data transfer. We are maybe, in the case of thermostats, we are transferring just some bits, so we might not need a lot of bandwidth or a lot of gigahertz, but for camera or video, of course, we need much more. But in this case, with the current Wi-Fi technology that we have and with the level of the data that we are transferring in buildings, I think that it quite helps to have a very consistent, uniform connectivity among the devices, among the servers, among the cloud, and also the internet connection. That is the main important things. Yeah.
And I guess that, we always we often talk about IoT being like driven by cellular connectivity, but when you think about all of you probably at home, you have plenty of devices already that use Wi-Fi and they help. You don't have them necessarily for power efficiency, but they clearly help that way without trying.
Yes, I just wanted to add that in Europe, the European Parliament and the Commission, they are planning to have quite strict rules, and the houses have to be insulated until 2033, etc., etc. Now, if you look around, how many buildings are from Portugal up to Finland, I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know, if you have the solution, please say it. So, in the existing buildings, you cannot start pulling wires, installing wire. So wireless, I think this is the only way to upgrade existing buildings. And perhaps if we have smart systems managing heating and cooling, we could perhaps avoid also putting insulation on the outside of the buildings. This is something which is theoretic, perhaps, but perhaps worth to think about.
Yeah, and I guess that the fact that you have buildings with more shielded, so the signal doesn't penetrate, there is some sort of side advantage that you don't have. It reduces the interference with the outside world.
Yeah.
However, it also makes the lint budget much worse. So to provide cellular connectivity indoors is going to become much more inefficient because of that. So you want to encourage indoor connectivity. Now, good, but from a regulatory point of view, is it something that we should, as a society, try to encourage, and how we do that? Because this is clearly good not for the operator, service providers, or enterprise. It's good for society as a whole. How do you think we can think about this?
Well, I guess one important thing is, it's important the regulators are not taking a specific technology-centric approach, right? And so even though we make the case of why Wi-Fi is going to be able to provide a lot of energy efficiency benefits in delivering connectivity, of course the band is 6 gigahertz in particular is going to be for unlicensed use, right? It's not the Wi-Fi band. We just will be one of the largest users of it. But ensuring that the regulators are not, let's say, locking in particular approaches that foreclose on options in the future. I think that's a key piece. I think the other piece is there's a lot that just happens organically within the industries themselves. So I'll give you an example. Somebody brought up with me as we were preparing for this, what specific sustainability initiatives do you have? And a lot of the things I was coming up with in terms of how we're helping to drive better sustainability didn't come about because there was necessarily a stated sustainability goal. It was, hey, we have smartphones. They have batteries. They have a limited life. How do we provide more power efficient connectivity to those smartphones or to an IoT sensor? How do we provide more robust connectivity, things like Wi-Fi Halo, where we're able to actually go through some of the sub 1 gigahertz Wi-Fi essentially to go through some of these barriers. And so a lot of the quote sustainability benefits are coming through natural industry innovation. So I think the extent to which we're enabling these markets and for the industry to kind of go into these markets. And yes, regulators will also set goals and companies are going to kind of find ways in creative ways to meet those goals. I think that's always the best, right? It's that creative engine that is kind of the great things coming out of tech in general, the industry. It's fostering that and really letting industry find solutions.
Any other?
Yes, I fully agree that regulators should not give technological limitations because innovations will be stopped. And I think only innovations can help us. If we plan the future, and 2050, 88% of the energy around the planet should be produced by renewable energies. Of course, much more technology has to be developed and to come and to be in place in order to reach it. So that if you plan the future of the next 27 years based on the status quo of today, you will be outdated, I think, in a few years. So I think to give motivation to the people to reduce emissions and the industry to develop solutions, I think this is the best way, not just saying you are not allowed to do this, you are not allowed to do this, you are not allowed to do this, but please, if you do this, then you get some funding or you get some benefit.
Yeah, so create the right incentives. And I think, Kevin, you made an important point. If it's on 6 gigahertz, it's all unlicensed, it's not Wi-Fi, it's unlicensed. So you could imagine that if instead of having Wi-Fi access points, you have 5G NRU, it would be just pretty much the same efficiency. It's just not going to happen.
Right. I mean, the market's going to decide what the right solutions are, right? We just need regulatory regimes that provide the right environment for industries to foster.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now, there is also, in terms of just energy consumption, there is a lot of work, as you said, and it's basically driven by evolution because any vendor would like to use less power. It's a good thing regardless of the sustainability part. So there is a lot of work going on there. But one thing that I recently saw that was quite interesting was a paper by Orange that they were basically recommending their user, or the point was that you don't want to have your access point to spend too much time sleeping, because when the access point sleeps, the phone would use cellular and therefore would get to a less efficient mode. So you save money on your energy bill at home, but overall society doesn't do too well. So what's your thought about what should we do? Does this make sense to you? Or
I'm not very
whoever wants to
on the energy, but as I know that the Wi-Fi provides a better, let's say, more energy efficient connection than cellular. So of course, when you have a Wi-Fi connection, it's the best option that you go to get connected to that in the terms of because okay, when we are connecting to a network, we have a different purposes. One of them is to get connected to the internet, but not necessarily we are always transferring data to the internet. So most of the things that we are doing is happening on our devices, and let's say we are not always needing to do this transfer. So using the Wi-Fi, we are also remain sustainably connected, consistently connected to the internet, but at the same time we do not spend extra energy for getting connected to the cellular. And as Kevin explained, we also, it helps for the battery life of the devices as well, which is quite a big problem, because as we are going more to electric devices, more to batteries, we need to really figure it out, because it is also a very important issue, because we cannot have devices that after 3 or 4 years we need really to change them. And this is also a big issue. So considering how our connected devices can help us to even improve the quality and the life of our battery or remote devices, I think it's also a big feature of that. But how the access point can affect, I think Kevin has a better idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Kevin.
Yeah, and I think you hit on something, Monica, where it probably doesn't make sense to completely shut down Wi-Fi networks. But yesterday we heard a lot about how AI is factoring into network management and how networks operate. And there's many examples where you can, creatively degrade the network, or let's say dial back the network when there's not a lot going on. Like, yes, maybe my laptop's doing an update from 3, it's downloading from 3 a.m. and you need to be able to do that. But for much of the night, so I'm in one of those homes that actually has aluminum foil shielding. So I walk in, shut my doors, I do not have a good signal. I think my last check I had 0.1 megabit per second uplink in my home when I was not on Wi-Fi. But you can do things like in a major enterprise. You probably don't need every access point on, but you don't want to shut everything down and then have a device trying to communicate to a base station, outside the building. When you're serving high traffic, you want 4 spatial stream access points. Maybe there's going to be techniques where at night you dial that back and you're serving those devices with 1 spatial stream, or so there's a lot of these techniques, I think, where using intelligence in the network, you can serve devices based on how they need to be served at that point in time, and become more energy efficient. So again, working smarter rather than harder.
I think also if you think in a condominium and you have a house with let's say 6 stores, imagine it will be impossible that an external cellular network deals with hundreds of ISMs in different sensors. So the only way is really, I think, to use Wi-Fi. And there are also this technology, Hello, which is a low-power Wi-Fi technology with a long, it can reach sensors in a long distance. And I think this will be. Of course, also the technology has to develop, and engineers in the companies will have to think how to optimize these new networks. I think bringing the mindset of sustainability into planning and developing products is important. I would say that people think about this, but it is not the principle how do you design products. And maybe you know already that there is the idea of the digital product passport, which there's a project ongoing in the European Union to define the parameters which describe a product from the sustainability point of view, how it was produced, so that it makes easy to plan installations in the future. But on the other side, it means that you have to deliver this data in advance. And in the WBA, we think to start a working group to talk about this so that we contribute proactively what should be there inside.
Absolutely. We have a question here.
Hi. Actually, part of my question got answered. You mentioned Halo, because it strikes me there's 2 important things for Wi-Fi here. One is the high performance stuff where 6 gigahertz makes a big difference for reducing load compared with cellular or other technologies. But the other one is on the smart building side, where most sensors don't need gigabits a second or ultra-low latency. So there, I would have thought that Halo for smart buildings makes sense. I'm wondering whether there is a model which looks a bit like Matter, or even Matter for smart buildings rather than homes, where explicit support for Halo, as well as ordinary Wi-Fi, and in that case Thread, makes a lot of sense for smart building sustainability. And it surprises me that I haven't seen Matter, Halo linked together properly yet.
I guess just one thing I would say on that, Dean, though, is it is still very much early days for Wi-Fi Halo. I think it's an exciting technology. What we get in terms of the range improvements, the power improvements, the ability to penetrate barriers, right? So serving sensors down in the basement. It's not even going kilometers, but the fact that you're trying to get sensors maybe down in a basement. That's all very exciting. I think one of the challenges is just simply there is so much 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi out there that it's just it's the default, right? And so for Wi-Fi Halo, it's coming up that adoption curve, right? And I think we're seeing some positive signs around it, where a lot of the companies selling Wi-Fi Halo gear are getting traction, and we certainly want to see more of that. But I think to your question of why aren't we seeing more, I think part of it is just the dynamics of there are 18 billion traditional Wi-Fi devices, and it's just a new technology and it takes time. But I think it's coming.
Kevin, thank you for mentioning us. I'm Marleen Bonham, CEO and founder of Manchester Business. Our company is fully Wi-Fi Halo focused. So, and also Kevin Daly is in the room from Mars Micro. I'm very happy with the Wireless Broadband Alliance that we now can work together with them to help the adoption of Halo. And I think that we should absolutely make the sustainability calculation, because I think if we use the spectrum also in a more sustainable way, that we do not only focus on the 6 gigahertz, but that we also use the full spectrum available for ISM bands, also the sub-gigahertz in an efficient way, we can further improve that decarbonization. And that's what we have to do. And I think when houses then isolate, more isolation in Europe, but then you have your access point inside, and Wi-Fi Halo can much better penetrate through the walls. We can still reach your garden with the same IoT device. And instead that IoT devices are now all going to go on the 2.4 already saturated band, which is not good for Wi-Fi. It takes energy, it requires access points, it's collisions. And in the sub-gigahertz domain we have spectrum and can even make it better. Also, we are more efficient than alternative technologies, which are not Wi-Fi. So there are so many cases here in your whole panel that I can write a book about it, honestly speaking. But we have to work with, we are very interested to work with Wireless Broadband Alliance on this, and also with Wi-Fi Alliance, of course, to show that, to make that sustainability calculation when Wi-Fi Halo takes care of the IoT devices, where it is intended for. Thank you.
Yeah, and I guess that, as you said, the question is that we should try to figure out a way to measure it, right? But when you think about the sort of the consumption part, because it's like, okay, how much consumption and how much benefit you have. The consumption is pretty much zero because you're going to have a Wi-Fi network regardless. So to support an IT application that typically requires very little in terms of bandwidth, the cost should be pretty much marginal, next to zero, right? So we just need to compute the advantage. Is that right, or am I seeing it wrong? Or am I too optimistic here?
I'm sure there are many consultants and research that would love to go in and calculate every little bit. You may be right. I guess there's just Wi-Fi is entrenched into so many different areas. It just gets incredibly complicated, right? So the new applications drive increased demand for data. So yes, you're going to get some of these incremental let's say, incremental consumption as you're looking to deliver that connectivity. But again, I think at the macro level, I think you're thinking of it the right way, right? Because the Wi-Fi networks are going to be there. And again, I hesitate to say unequivocally, like, you're absolutely right, Monica, because it is just
I'm not gonna ask you
so
to sign
complicated,
it.
right? But again, I think you're right in that at the macro level, Wi-Fi networks are going to be in every home. They're going to be in every enterprise already. And so, adding on, let's say, incremental applications and things like that can be done incredibly cost effectively and power efficiently.
Yes, let's say there are different viewpoints when we talk about sustainability. So let's say network operators, they have the task to become carbon neutral soon, or they gave their own targets. And this is their internal working on this. The other point is how to do Wi-Fi devices or the Wi-Fi architectures more sustainable, let's say reducing the power consumption. And the other is how to take these devices you can buy, the network concepts, in order to support business sectors. And in this moment, at least in the European Grid Digital Coalition, we are the topic, the business sector which are considered as transportation, it is construction, agriculture, manufacturing, energy systems, and smart cities. With all of them topics, the topics already the WBA worked in the past, and I think we can work in the future, having also perhaps the methodology understood and adapted to the needs of this alliance.
Absolutely. I can see that. Do we have time for a few more questions? Are there any more questions from the audience? Over there. Can we get the mic? Hold on 1 second. You get the mic.
Just one thing I want to add to the conversation, and I've talked to Angelos about this offline, as well as keep in mind what happens to all these access points, these billions of Wi-Fi 4, 5, 6 access points as they go through their life cycle, and what the expenses are of recycling or disposing of them and repurposing them. You're talking billions of devices kind of going through a life cycle now similar to the cellular industry, which has had to address this. And it's an important part of sustainability as you're designing products in terms of what type of materials you're using and what happens to them at the end of life.
Maybe if I can touch on a bit, because part of the answer on that is something that has been, critical and essential to the history of Wi-Fi since our inception just under 25 years ago, in that Wi-Fi is somewhat unique in that the refresh cycle. So we talk a lot about the new capabilities coming out and why you should upgrade gear, and that's absolutely true, right? There's a lot of things that are coming out of Wi-Fi with new generations that are increasing power efficiency. And there's a balance, right? It's, okay, what is the benefit of going to new gear versus getting rid of the old gear? But again, going back to something that has been central to our history, Wi-Fi is backwards compatible for every device out there. Right? So you're not if you have gear, there are scanners in warehouses, fulfillment centers that are many generations old. Some of those, for other reasons, we'd really like those to be upgraded, right? But the reality is, it's incumbent on the person who owns the network, who owns the devices. They can actually make these trade-offs of, okay, I want the latest and greatest. I care about the recycling cost, and they can do that balance, right? So it's much more, I think, organic, and it's not a one-size-fits-all. Different companies can have their own perspectives on the balance of those costs of recycling. What do you do with the waste versus the additional benefits? And so again, I think it's one of the great things with Wi-Fi is that we empower the consumer, we empower the businesses to make those trade-offs. But yes, I'm still going to be saying there's a lot of really good power efficiency benefits and other benefits coming with the new generations of Wi-Fi, but ultimately, you decide.
Absolutely. we're at the end of the panel, but we're going to probably still be around for if you have any other questions. And I would like to thank you all for your questions, and thanks for the panelists for their conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Monica, Angelus, Kevin, and Ali. A fantastic panel. So we move on the agenda. So the next speaker is Juan Turf, Senior Marketing Director at EMEA, and he's going to share with us the latest news on Wi-Fi offload. So welcome, Juan.
This was just a quick reminder to you that knew Aptilo Networks from before. We are now a fully integrated part of EMEA. EMEA is an innovator and specialist in software for telecom and cybersecurity. Today, I am going to probably kick out some open doors or preach to the choir, whatever you want to refer to it. But I just have to share with you all the spike in interest for mobile data offloading that we currently see. And by the way, offloading is a really bad notion because it's really only about indoor coverage and adding capacity where you need it. And Wi-Fi offload is an even worse notion because it looks like you offload Wi-Fi, which you aren't. So, but who am I to set the terminology here? So I will stick with the standard terminology used in the industry for the rest of my presentation. So for us being a leader in Wi-Fi offload, we have seen a lot of interest in the last 6 months only. It's actually like 2013 all over again. We have seen more interest the last 6 months than the last few years. And you can see from this heat map in Contact Us request on our website that the most interest comes from Asia, parts of Africa, Middle East, and the Americas. And you know, there are really 2 types of mobile operators that is approaching us. One type is the 4G operators that has not invested in 5G, may not even invest ever in 5G. That need, or ever is a wrong word, of course they will some time. But, you know, they need more capacity driven by video. If you just imagine the impact of TikTok, Netflix, and what have you. In some networks, it's more than 60% of the traffic that is video today. And some of them are closing down their 3G networks as well, which put extra load on their 4G networks. And at EMEA, we can see this also verified with the increased interest for our traffic management solutions, where we can reduce the load by 20% from video traffic with the same perceived quality. And then you have the 5G operators that finds it difficult and expensive to obtain indoor coverage. And as you know, many MVNOs already have vast Wi-Fi networks, and they are even building their own 5G cores now. And you know, we see this clearly in the US right now, where operators are eating each other's lunch. I don't know if you know this, but the fastest growing broadband is the fixed mobile broadband with 5G as a backhaul. And the fastest growing subscribers for mobile is the cable operators that acts as MVNOs. So we expect this trend also to come to Europe, even if we don't see as much interest from Europe right now. So what are the drivers? Of course, indoor coverage, it has always been a challenge to obtain indoor coverage. And already in 4G, there were like 20% of the US buildings that were struggling with indoor coverage. And with 5G working on even higher frequencies, today mostly mid-band, 3.3 to 3.8 gigahertz, but in the future they will expand into higher bands. It is literally more impossible to penetrate buildings if they have three-pane windows. And guess what? The energy crisis has made three-pane windows and isolated buildings more common also in milder climates, like here in Paris. It's not only in Sweden where we always have that. And by the way, it's an urban legend that we have polar bears walking on our streets, okay? So that is a big, big driver. The other thing is cost savings. Wi-Fi has a significantly lower cost per bit than cellular. It's impossible to calculate, but because it depends on many factors, but some reports say 30% or so. Then if we look at 5G, there you have to have even higher densification due to the higher frequencies, right? So that will not help much. So 5G, I would say, must have indoor solutions. But guess what? Indoor solutions are also costly. So why don't use the Wi-Fi network that is already there? And actually, Wi-Fi is the only indoor solution that you can make into a profit center. Because many of our mobile operator customers, they use our system to sell attractive B2B Wi-Fi services to venues, and then they add an additional SSID for Wi-Fi offload. So in fact, they get paid while getting a better indoor coverage. Then we have talked about sustainability. So since Wi-Fi has lower energy consumption, as spelled out here today, that is an important factor for mobile operators. They want to be sustainable. And also, for that matter, if we look at it, what's the sense of duplicating equipment indoors? Having indoor solution for cellular and Wi-Fi, if you can avoid it. And then we have another trend, and that is the technology trend. So all stars are aligned for operators. It started early on in 2012 with Passpoint, which gave us seamless and secure Wi-Fi access. Then we have Wi-Fi 6 that gave us deterministic Wi-Fi in areas with many devices. And in fact, we have seen from our operator customers that Wi-Fi is more. Before they said, yeah, it's only best effort. But they cannot say that anymore with OFDMA in Wi-Fi 6. And they recognize that it is a much better Wi-Fi for an operator. And then we have spectrum that everyone really wants. I mean, Wi-Fi on 6 gigahertz is tripling the available spectrum for Wi-Fi. Open roaming, a game changer, I would say, seamless global roaming. And then Wi-Fi 7 around the corner with speeds up a lot and latency down a lot. So everything is set for operators to go Wi-Fi, I would say. And then the devices have been better in selecting the best network themselves. We see this from our lab tests that they are constantly improving the way that they select the best network. I would argue that open roaming is really the silver bullet for a neutral host. So my ambition is not to teach about open roaming here, but basically you divide into actors. You have in the federation, you have the access network provider. That can be anybody, really, that has a Wi-Fi network. And then you have the identity providers that authenticate the users and keep the identities of users. And then in the middle, we have WBA that is issuing those open roaming certificates, so those servers can find each other. And that means that you can roam without knowing who you are roaming with, right? So that is one part of open roaming. But there is also a more deliberate part of open roaming where you can actually decide who you are roaming with. So for instance, mobile operators, they can say, I only want to roam with networks that have a quality of service of a certain standard. But even more so, they can prioritize to roam with certain venues. So let me give one example here. We have a shopping mall acting as a network service provider, and then we have multiple mobile operators. And they are then authenticating through SIM authentication their users automatically onto that shopping mall's network. And you know, this might not be practical for every operator to do a deal with every venue out there, but I'm sure that there will be aggregators that will help in consolidating the commercial agreements here. There are many that is open for that. So we really think that open roaming will become the silver bullet for a neutral host Wi-Fi offload. Then I hope I have inspired you a little bit to go home and say, we must do Wi-Fi, if you are an operator. And then the network core people from the GDPP side will mislead you and say, well, we have overcapacity. You know, our network, it's just 60% capacity. Well, that is not a lie. That is totally true, but only on an average level. There will always be places where you struggle to have capacity. And we call that the churn zone, where the user experience is really bad. Now, what we propose is don't do offloading everywhere. It's totally unnecessary. Do offload where it's necessary. Indoors, where you need to add additional capacity. And that was it for me. And if you want to discuss this with me, I will be in C28, and you can also check out the other offerings that we have within EMEA. We do cybersecurity, core network, and also Wi-Fi and IoT. Thank you very much for your attention.
Rowan, we have time for a few questions.
Okay.
Thank you for the presentation. I will kick off, before going to the question, I will kick off with one question that comes to my mind. When you present the map of the world with different requests that you get, do you see any difference between incumbent MNOs and MVNOs on that approach, requesting more the Wi-Fi offload?
Well, I mean, in regions where they have not really gone in or even considered 5G yet, there is a lot of incumbent, but others as well. But I would say it's a strong trend with MVNOs having a Wi-Fi network, and now they want to take as much load to their own network as possible. I mean, they are even considering or even doing CBRS in some areas to have as little as possible of the traffic on their mobile operators. And so that is a strong trend, I would say, and they are even building their own core, so they are getting thicker and thicker as MVNOs as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Dean?
Thanks for that. I agree with most of it. One question, though. Does this not need the mobile operators to adopt Passpoint as a building block? Because my impression is outside America, there's not been much adoption yet, and I'm wondering what's holding that up.
But I honestly speaking, I don't know what's holding it up. I cannot answer that. We have to ask that question to the mobile operators and stuff. But having that said, we have open roaming, which is based on Passpoint. And as I said, I think that is the silver bullet. Honestly speaking, Passpoint has never happened for real until open roaming. Because if you just if you just use Passpoint to enter your own network, it's not really, in my book, a proper Passpoint or Hotspot 2.0, because the strength here is where you can use the same service, Arcoy, and then enter different networks.
And can that, I have one answer from a client of mine, which is they were concerned that with Passpoint, they would not be able to have their policy running on the Wi-Fi network for things like, say, content filtering for children or something like that.
That is a good point. I mean, that is if they have that concern, open roaming will not help. But for their own networks, I mean, as you know, the standards say backhaul everything to the core, so that you can have those policy decisions. But you know, the truth is that the vast majority of our customers is not doing that, because then you are just offloading the radio network. So what we typically do, we look up policies from the mobile core, and then we apply the same policies in the Wi-Fi network. So that is how we normally work it. Yeah.
Thank you. I think there is another question. George?
Yeah, you mentioned in passing CBRS. In the US, there's a movement to use CBRS as a neutral host solution in large enterprise situations that the carriers seem to be quite enthusiastic about at first calling, getting away from DAS systems.
Yeah.
And there's been some large deployments in that area. And I'm kind of curious in your take on using CBRS, and so many devices now have band 48 in them. Versus, the benefits of Wi-Fi?
First of all, I'm the back-end guy. I'm not that good in radio technology, but for sure, both CBRS and private 5G we see as a natural neutral host possibilities. And being one of the very few companies actually in the world that has both competences in cellular core network and Wi-Fi core network, we of course are looking very thoroughly into this subject right now, because we think that the radio technology doesn't really matter. What's matter is if you can actually make that neutral host with both cellular and Wi-Fi. So we are definitely thinking that is a huge opportunity for us and for the industry as a whole. Yeah.
And let me just take the freedom to add something. On WBI work groups, we have a work item of expanding on open roaming federated approach to private cellular as well.
Right.
So there is a work item on that concept.
Yeah.
Okay, there is one last question. Just one microphone is coming. Okay, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. In France, for example, we do not see for real mobile operators that offload traffic to local Wi-Fi networks. I know that it happens, for example, in the US. In your knowledge, are there any countries in Europe in which it's for real right now?
Yeah, I mean, the only official customers that I can speak of in Europe is Telia in Sweden, Swisscom, and also, most interestingly, Tree UK is using our system without having a single Wi-Fi access point. Because what they use our cloud solution for the authentication, and then they roam into a third-party Wi-Fi network in the metro in London. So, but as I said in my map, you might have seen it was almost blue, or at least towards blue. It's not very hot right now from Europe, I must testify. But as I said, I think it's just a matter of time. You European guys have to wake up and look what's happening around the world, and actually do the best for applying Wi-Fi. And the craziest thing of all is that we see a lot of operators that they have two isolated silos, one for Wi-Fi or broadband, and one for mobile, and they are not even talking with each other. I mean, what a waste. What a waste. And they can even go out to a venue and have guys from the different organization mounting Wi-Fi and indoor solutions at the same place. That is just crazy. So I really hope that this will come to Europe as well.
Yeah.
More.
Thank you, Juan, for that call for action. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we need to forward on the agenda, so I will invite my colleague Pedro Mota, Senior Manager on our Program Management Office. Pedro managed several programs in WBA on the weekly meetings, including the residential Wi-Fi group. So Pedro, please, I will hand over to you for the next part of the session.
Thank you. All right, let's see. Can you guys hear us? Well, good morning. Hope everyone's doing a great time, having a great time, enjoying as well these sessions. And we'd like to invite you guys for this next session on operator managed Wi-Fi. For eventually starting, right, let's invite our panelists here today. I'm very honored really to working with them on a daily basis, almost weekly basis, right? So we have Sarper Gokturk from Airties, leading the operator managed Wi-Fi work in WBA. We have Christian Gaveta from Heights Telecom. We have Ganesh Venkatesan from Intel, leading the end-to-end Wi-Fi QS program in WBA. And we have as well Phil Morgan from NC Expert as well, doing a lot of consulting work in WBA. Please guys, feel free to join us on stage here. Thank you.
Thank you, Pedro.
And you guys will see that we have a very interesting composition of knowledge and expertise here. Hopefully you guys also feel comfortable to raise any question, any comment that you might have. We'll try to make it short. We don't have much time, but in any case, you're always very welcome to voice any comments. So I'll perhaps start by introducing as well the team. Would like to invite you guys to maybe a 30-second round of introductions on yourself and your company as well.
Hello, it's a pleasure to be here. I am Sarper Göktürk. I am the head of research at Airties, and also I am leading the WBA Operator Managed Wi-Fi Reference Architecture Work Group. And Airties is a leading provider of Wi-Fi solutions, managed Wi-Fi solutions around the globe. And our solutions include software that's embedded in the CPE, and also the cloud software that's attached to it, and also a vision application that runs on the phone that can manage and maintain the network. So that's
very good to start with. Thank you very much, Sarper. Christian.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Christian. I'm the managing director of Heights Telecom. We are based in Geneva, in Switzerland, and we have development in Israel, and we do manufacturing in China and Vietnam. What we do is we manufacture high-quality home gateways and Wi-Fi extenders, and there is a strong relationship with what Sarper have said. We are a great believer that those devices are meaningless unless you have the right software that delivers services, that deliver a great quality on Wi-Fi. Hence the reason we are also actively participating in projects like Sarper indicated.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Christian, as well. I'd like to invite our dear colleague as well, Ganesh, please.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. My name is Ganesh Venkatesan. I work for Intel Corporation. My main focus is on QoS, QoS for most challenging applications, evolving AR, VR applications over Wi-Fi networks. So in WBA, I'm leading a end-to-end QoS task group that's focused on enabling QoS for QoS applications, but we're only focused on Wi-Fi links today, and going forward, we'll be focusing on the end-to-end QoS.
Thank you very much, Ganesh. Very good, really. And Phil, absolutely. Take it away.
Hi, my name is Phil Morgan. I'm the CTO of NC Expert. We're an IT technology company working out of California. We specialize in cybersecurity and Wi-Fi, which are a very interesting combination of things. And we service FT500, government, military, all sorts of different customers. I spend most of my time troubleshooting Wi-Fi at the moment.
So you get a lot of insider exposure to what's happening in the real networks as well. That's fantastic. Let me just hear as well. Sorry. What the hell? Okay, very well. So with that, you guys can see that we have a very diverse and verticalized set of knowledge here. We have SARP in this case bringing as well the industry standards approach, the aggregation vision, right? We have Christian as well bringing the business and business development, not only the business and strategy driver as well to our conversation here today. Ganesh bringing as well the chipset manufacturing and QoS component that will be very important for performance application. And finally as well, Phil bring as well the security level that will add a lot of as well granularity and flavor to our discussion. So with that in mind, I would like to eventually to start with a brief round of questions. Then we might pause a little bit if you guys have any comments or question, and then we might follow up if there are no further comments from the audience. So Sarper, perhaps starting with you, right? I think given the diversity of the different knowledges that we have also on the room, right? And would you like to talk a little bit about managed Wi-Fi in general, right? So what drives managed Wi-Fi? What are the key concerns that you see typically from CPEs, right? The network operators, right? That have led to the creation of operating managed Wi-Fi in WBA.
Yeah, thank you, Pedro. So the thing is, when you look at from the perspective of the end user, what internet means is actually Wi-Fi. So, and they get their internet service from this operator that they are subscribed to. And what they are looking for is a working wireless solution. And if there's a problem with the internet, they go to their operator. So there comes the operator managed Wi-Fi solution. So from the perspective of the end user, Wi-Fi problems should be resolved by the operator itself because it's the provider of the internet service. So, and when you say the internet is the same as Wi-Fi, so they go to the operator. So when operators are deploying new solutions, they are usually go under a heavy integration process, which takes years of effort just to bring on all the new features and capabilities to a new hardware and deploy that. So this is really an effort that takes a lot of time, a lot of money, and it's costing a lot for the operators, and also it's taking too much effort from the community as well for us vendors and the operators. So the idea with the operator managed Wi-Fi reference architecture work group that we have in WBA is that we want to create a baseline architecture that avoids reinventing the wheel every time a new product is to be deployed. So we define an architecture which is based on open standards. The key thing here is the standards-based approach, so that every partner that the operator is working with, it can be a hardware partner, software partners that go into the same CPE to work with the operator, they know what parts of the puzzle they are filling in, and they have a reference design that they can use with the deployment. So this will improve and speed up the process of this integration, and this will give more space for like vendors like us, like software providers like Airties. This will open up space for us to develop more value-added services, because we are now spending most of our time with integration efforts that should be actually taken as granted, right? So with the operator managed Wi-Fi work group, what we are aiming is to define standards-based approach and write that down and show a best practice so that the operators know what to deploy. And a last comment on that is this standards-based approach is not any standards. We are taking the best approach of all. We are taking, maybe you'll ask that later, but we are taking the Wi-Fi Alliances standards, we are taking the broadband forums as standards, and using this as the baseline starting point for the software vendors.
Absolutely, something that is so important really for the industry, bringing together all these different organizations, these peers working together, right? Thank you very much, Sharper. And perhaps Christian, right? So I would like to invite you to talk a little bit about how do you see the operators, right? When you're talking with them, when you're presenting as well your solutions, right? So are they concerned, for example, with the investment stage, how they see, are they a little bit more risk averse on the low cost? How do you see as well the next generation of Wi-Fi, moving from Wi-Fi 6 to 6E, right? And now to Wi-Fi 7, how do they see this evolution, right?
Thank you, Pedro. I think this is a very good question. I think that the challenge that CSPs are facing, and we are talking with them day in, day out, is they are competing, trying to grab customers, trying to retain customers, trying to make them happy. And the challenge is that, at least what we see in the industry, is that people are competing just by bringing technology. So they bring more speed, and normally there is a lot of pressure on put price down. But linking to what Sarper has been saying, I think that there is an opportunity for CSPs to start creating more services for their customers. So it's important to, and especially we have seen this with COVID, you know, the house has become an extension of the enterprise. So we see more and more the need to have not only just connectivity in the home, but we have the need to have the security aspect. We need to have the need to have a proper Wi-Fi that can understand what's going on, quality of service, you know, how do we prioritize traffic? Because if I'm sharing my traffic with my family, I need to be able to make sure that when I'm working from home, my applications are really having more priority. So what I'm trying to say with all that is that there is an opportunity to really embrace this architecture, let's say, and probably the way I would define it is what the WBA is trying to build together with companies like us working together is to have a hardware platform that can be independent from software. So that means that you could actually have a vendor like Ties or similar, and then have different CPEs. Hopefully it's ours, but you know, obviously it's not the case all the time. So you can actually manage, have the same software architecture, means that your customers will have a similar user experience, and you have more flexibility to look for different vendors. So for the industry, I think is the right approach. Now, the last comment around Wi-Fi 6, 6E, 6.7, there is a big race going on. What we have seen from our perspective, 2023 has been around Wi-Fi 6 deployments, although Wi-Fi 6E is around in the European theater, has been more slow, I would say. I think some of the tier ones that I have observed, they have launched Wi-Fi 6E, which is great to see. Yet to be seen if some service providers would jump from 6 to 7. And again, I'm not going to spend too much time on that, but challenge with Wi-Fi 6E is that there are not too many front haul connectivity, you know, not so many Wi-Fi 6E devices available. So Wi-Fi 6E is interesting for mesh environments where you can use the 6E for backhauling. So perhaps we're going to see an acceleration of Wi-Fi 7 in 2024, and yet to be seen.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Christian, as well. Yeah, the 6 years dynamic, right? It's always an exciting topic that we always, as well, love to discuss. Thank you very much, Christian, as well. Ganesh, right? Now moving eventually to the topic of QoS, I'd like to invite you to talk a little bit about this sometimes ambiguous topic. It has been discussed for multiple years, as we have also discussed yesterday, right? In fact, that why does it keep being brought to the consideration of the table? Wasn't it already solved, right? So what is this new approach that you're trying to now have to really address the performance application, and what is really your definition of QoS, right?
Yes. So QoS has been around for a while, since 11E, for many years. The standards have defined them, and the Wi-Fi layer has implementations of the standard specification of QoS. But it hasn't been taken advantage of, partly because the OS vendors did not expose the Wi-Fi layer capabilities to the applications. And the application developers either did not want to change the application to leverage these mechanisms, or had no means of accessing these mechanisms because the OS was not exposing them to that. So Wi-Fi has been working on various improvements to QoS capabilities, and every new standard of Wi-Fi that comes out, there is some new mechanism that improves quality of service. But it has been a chicken and egg problem that who is going to break the cycle and do some extra work, until finally WBA came along and said, we have waited for too long, there seems to be no QoS enablement. In the meantime, service providers have been doing some, I want to call it a hack, but it's really not a hack. They've been trying to work around this and provide some QoS to the customers. Typically what they do is they do some deep packet inspection, try to figure out what the stream is doing, and enable priority for those packets. It works in some cases, and in some cases it does not work, specifically if you have end-to-end encryption. There's no way of looking at the packet and understanding what's going on, so you can get QoS for them. So WBA jumped in and said, let's break the cycle, demonstrate what QoS can do for QoS-sensitive applications. And if you have to do some extra work, implement some extra software to demonstrate this, publish a trial report where we say, this is what you see as QoS today, and if we enable all these mechanisms, this is what you're going to see, and show a dramatic shift in performance for QoS. And that's what we've been doing in WBA. We have implemented some software that's above and beyond what's off the shelf. And Intel, my company, has middleware that works around the OS and inspects all the packets that's coming from the application and enables priority for that, and has been quite successful in improving quality of service for applications that require special treatment. So the hope that we have in WBA is by us publishing this trial report, we'll have a very strong argument for OS vendors to put some extra effort and expose these mechanisms to the applications. And either the application developers will change their application to leverage these mechanisms, but in the meantime, that is taking place. The middleware, similar to the software that Intel is providing, will play the role of applications doing it all by themselves and describe the application needs to the OS and hence to the Wi-Fi layer that will enable all these mechanisms. So at the end of the phase, when we publish the trials report, I think we have a strong case for the industry to pick this up and move forward and finally have real QoS in Wi-Fi links.
Absolutely, and we are planning as well to move towards the trials, right? Everyone will be invited. You guys also developed the trials requirements document to see if it becomes clear for organizations on how to participate as well in those trials to showcase the technology. And I think we'll have the chance in the meantime as well, very shortly, to then detail some of the use cases that will bring that tangibility for the life of people as well. So we'll save that for the next round. Thank you very much, Ganesh. Very well. Thank you. Phil, now coming back to you as well on the way you handle all the different clients you guys work with, right? And what are really the evolution that you see that I think most of us here in the room most likely also feel when times are changing. That's my point, right? So when we see very often the office being moved to the home, right? So what are some of the implications that you see with these movements, right? And some potential, maybe security breaches that you might immediately identify or concerns that the network operators should have addressing this scenario?
So residential has always been residential, and it's always been easy. It's been for games and television. But COVID showed us that residential has more capabilities. Residential is now where a lot of people run their office from. Residential is now where senior executives go home and do their work from. So it's not just TV and games anymore. We have to look at the other applications. And to Ganesh's point, we need these applications to tell us what we want, what they need, so we can properly use them. And of course, security. You've got to have security buttoned up tight. You probably shouldn't have the TV on the same network that the executive is doing the work on. So we need to try and separate the networks at the residential layer. Open roaming could be a solution, maybe. Maybe the home devices could leverage VLANs to separate and have different quality of experience and quality of service for the different types of traffic. So we need to be the parents here because the users don't understand any of this. Most users don't even know that as you walk away from an access point, the signal deteriorates. And then you say to them, well, you've been to a concert? Yes. When you walk away from the stage, it gets quieter, right? Like a light bulb goes off in their head. And they've realized that they don't necessarily understand the technology as it comes to Wi-Fi. So I think it's going to get more complex. But look at where we've gotten already. We have WPA3, which fixes a lot of the problems with WPA2. And so we are going the right direction. We have to just keep on going. But I think we need to make the residential boxes, the routers, the gateways, the access points. We need to give them the technologies, and the users just need a little simple interface on-off. No more complex than that.
A simple approach, right?
Simpler
as
the
simple as
better.
possible, right? And yeah, we'll have as well more time to talk about the defaults as well. So that's
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Phil. Very good. Okay, so I think thank you very much, guys, for this initial round, right? Any comment or any question from the audience in this meantime, right? So we are talking about standards, talking about next generation of Wi-Fi technology as well, and how really to help as well the carriers then differentiating a little bit their competitiveness, their value proposition to their end users, right? About QoS and also about cybersecurity. If you guys have any comment or any question at any point in time, of course, let us know. With that, I think we can eventually move along the process, right? And here, Sarper, in the beginning, we were talking about this need for these baseline common sets, default components, right? So that eventually everything becomes much simpler, right, for the CPEs, for the network operators. So the two pair of questions here is basically the following. So how, first of all, to keep this sustainable over time, how do we keep this architecture, sustainable and permanent and compatible with the different generations of standards? And why is it so important to also have this holistic approach and not simply go and try to improve component by component, right?
Yeah, that's a great question, Pedro. So what we should keep in mind always is that that's an end-to-end solution that we deliver, right? What the consumer sees is a Wi-Fi connection with internet. Okay, there are components as my colleagues mentioned. I definitely agree with Ganesh and Phil and Christian. We have QoS. We have to have the best QoS. We have to have the best security. But when you put all this stuff into the same product, we have to have an end-to-end solution that delivers the expected result, right? We see we have some experience with the field experience, and we see that when you put, for example, when you put WPA3 into the game, you have different behaviors from the clients. And when you have QoS, you see that some of the clients are not honoring your the request for the QoS requirements. So the baseline, what we mentioned as baseline and the reference architecture is that we not just get the best of everything, but we try to align all these into a set of architecture and the industry standards-based solution so that we can guarantee the operator and show the operator the way that, okay, when you combine these two, these three and these four, you guarantee that you will have the best service for the user that you have. But on top of that, if you want to have some value-added services, this architecture will also provide you with the necessary APIs and the necessary tools that you can build on top of this. So this can be more security that you have, like enterprise-grade security in the residential for the work-from-home case, or it can be gaming experience with QoS, right? So, but the thing is, you have to rely on an architecture or the method that gives you this opportunity, right? So at the end, we have to deal with an end-to-end solution, and this end-to-end solution has one single goal of making the end user happy regarding its internet service. Right?
Absolutely.
And keeping this sustainable is that we have to align these standards. We have different standards, and these standards are like separate elements of a big picture, and they are doing great separately, but we have to keep always in mind that these should combine in a single product or a single service so that you give the user the service that he needs. So for this sustainability, I guess WBA plays an important role by driving this kind of a work group and work so that we can show the direction on how to combine these kind of stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely. Bring all the different players together, right? Developing that common framework.
Yeah, it's a continuing effort. I mean, it's not like, okay, we did it and now it's good to go. I mean, there's always new capabilities, new features. We are talking about Wi-Fi 7. And now, when Wi-Fi 6 was introduced, we were saying that, okay, 11G, 11N clients are legacy clients. They're causing problems in the network. When we resolve them, we think that there won't be any legacy clients. But when we have Wi-Fi 7, I'm sure that Wi-Fi 5 clients will be the legacy clients that we will be dealing with. And when we have Wi-Fi 8, we will have Wi-Fi 6 as the problematic clients, right? So we have to be assured that we will have some challenges, but if we have the right direction to go, then we can find the way out, I guess.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd like to follow up on what Sapa said. So even for QoS, we rely on a some foundational architecture being there. For example, you can do everything you want in QoS, but if the network has not made the right choices for selecting the right band to operate on, right channel to operate on, then whatever you do for QoS is not going to give you the best.
Exactly.
Yes, so when you do QoS, you assume that all basic decisions have been made correctly, for which you need the basic architecture to be defined and deployed correctly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, guys. Okay, super fantastic. Christian, so moving now eventually to you, I'd like to ask you once again, right, from the business standpoint, how would you really as well talk with the CP in this case and help him as well differentiating its offer? We've heard from Sapper that, for example, having this common default set of architecture, right, could help then adding microservices and services on top, right? And that fellow proposition, what would you suggest, right, to an operator in this case that is suffering the pain points of
Yeah, linking back to what we were discussing earlier on, how can service providers continue to innovate and add new services? How you bring new services to the home? The operator-managed Wi-Fi, in my opinion, is like the first step. You need to deliver a great service, but then there would be new things that operators can monetize, and potentially the CPE is going to be the last device that will be left in the home. So it's really your Trojan horse to deploy software and to deploy services and applications. So the approach that I think the industry will be going is into a containerized architecture where the CSP will not be a monolithic device anymore, because today is very monolithic. You push a software image to the device that has certain capabilities, but it's exactly the same for all the houses. And in our view, there is an opportunity to have a containerized architecture, which means that you will have a baseline kind of services, which would be connectivity, it would be the Wi-Fi, but then there might be other things that will come along, like how you manage elderly people in the house, like sensing, motion. Then you have, I don't know, potentially there is a lot of discussions, don't know if it's going to take or not, like Mata, the IoT, and so there are plenty of ideas that will pop up over the next couple of years. So it's important to really think through carefully how you architect your infrastructure to make sure that it's ready for the years to come. That, an observation probably worth considering.
Thank you very much, Christian. I believe we are already running a little bit on time, so perhaps Ganesh and Phil, I'll invite you guys. You'd like to complement a little bit what Christian was mentioning in terms of adding value to the operators, and how would you like to help them differentiating?
Well, I think one thing we talked about, and we mentioned this yesterday when we had a quick chat, is we could tier the services. So the basic service could be email or just connectivity. Then you can have a little bit more service if you need more security, if you need to have executive level or open roaming or something. And then if you want advanced QoS, you could have another tier. This will allow the service providers to make money back on the features they are adding, which I think was a great idea that we discussed yesterday, and maybe we should mention that. That's an opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Ganesh, perhaps just to wrap up in this case, so from the QoS standpoint, and we talk a lot about low latency and also the work that is upcoming in WBA, what are the key applications, maybe just for the interest of the room, that you would envision, right? So what are really those applications at home that will have a tremendous impact and they can see their difference on their daily lives with QoS?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, well, we've always had the classic watching television, playing video games in the residential environment. They were the QoS sensitive applications for the longest time, till the work from home scenario or go to school from home scenarios came in. And now it extended the QoS sensitive applications to, I want to do my business from home. I want to be able to have the same experience I have when I sit in my conference room at work, sitting from my home. So the enterprise has actually sort of extended from just being within the building to into the home. And so we need to have QoS that we used to have in the corporate environment, extending all the way to the home, but not all enterprise policies that happens within the building apply to the home environment. So we have to start thinking new on how to extend the QoS to the work from home environment, to the study from home environment.
Yeah, this actually is a good comment, because we see it that way as well. That there is a blur between enterprise and residential Wi-Fi's. So the two things are coming together somehow. So over the next couple of years, I think we're going to see more and more features that historically has been dominated by enterprises, let's say, but now coming more into the home.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, guys. I think it's a fascinating world where we live, and it's really a pleasure, to be honest, to work with you guys, on multiple projects, and Operator Managed Wi-Fi, end-to-end Wi-Fi QoS. We even talked previously about as well how, right, IoT and smart home will be bringing as well that Matter protocol into the home residential space, and associating with Wi-Fi, with Thread, with Halo, Wi-Fi Halo technology. So once again, guys, I really appreciate it. I hope you guys also had a good time. Hope it was fruitful as well for the audience, and I'll propose a round of applause to our panelists here. And thank you very much, once again.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you everyone for the excellent panel. So we'll move on to the last speaker of this first part of the morning agenda. So next speaker is Bob El-Awari, Executive Vice President for Sales at Cognitive Systems, and is going to talk about how Wi-Fi sensing can increase the ARPU for service providers. So Bob, welcome. And once more, congratulations for the award yesterday. So welcome.
All right, can everybody hear me? I think I can, yeah, I can sense everybody hears me at the moment. So, as Tiago introduced me, my name is Bob El-Awari. I work at Cognitive Systems. I look after their sales globally. And I've been with Cognitive Systems for about just over 3 years, and the progress we've made has been absolutely tremendous. And one of the key focus areas, which I think you're all interested to hear in, is how can service providers make revenue? At the end of the day, we're all businesses. We need to make revenue. We need to add value to customers. So that's what I'm going to talk to you about today, are some of the ideas, some of the insights, and some of the experience that we've gained, certainly not only in the time I've been at Cognitive Systems, but since Cognitive Systems has been around since 2014. So for those of you who aren't aware fully of what Wi-Fi sensing, or what we call Wi-Fi motion, is, I'm going to give you just a quick brief overview, but I think most of you are familiar with Wi-Fi sensing. We're basically a platform. We're a software-based solution. We don't need any new incremental hardware for Wi-Fi motion, Wi-Fi sensing to work in a particular environment, okay? So it's a software-based solution. That's very important because that means it's scalable, it's more cost-effective than traditional sensing solutions like PIRs, passive infrared sensors or cameras or anything else like that that's hardware-based. So it gives the operator, gives the end user something that's more cost-effective, software-based, and very importantly, scalable. Scale is very important to help drive revenue and obviously profitability. Now, the way it actually works, as you can see, the individual here on the screen is walking beside the access point, which you see highlighted in yellow. That's where our software resides. Our software will do some computation measuring the actual disruption of the RF Wi-Fi signal between a Wi-Fi client, Wi-Fi connected device that's already in the home, as connected to that router or access point, or CPE, okay? So basically what you do is, with our software resident on the access point, all the Wi-Fi connected devices in the home automatically become converted into motion sensors without actually having to put any software on the actual Wi-Fi devices themselves. So if you walk near, for example, this Google Home Mini on the right-hand side, the user interface, for example, on an app, you'd get a notification to say, hey, somebody's moved beside the Google Home Mini, or associating with a room like in the kitchen, okay? So that's powerful for a whole wide raft of use cases. I'm going to talk about some of those use cases that are potentially monetizable and can help the service provider make revenue. But revenue isn't only the key indicator, like the key performance indicator or the KPI. It's very important in terms of helping reduce churn. So you're adding value to existing broadband connectivity, increasing the growth, and very importantly, increasing user engagement. You want the customer to be sticky. You want the customer to see value in that service, and that beyond just being an internet or broadband provider. And as I said, on top of keeping the customer happy, increasing net promoter score, customer satisfaction, that gives an opportunity to unlock new revenue, which again, that's what we're here to talk to you about today. A little bit about Cognitive. We basically created the Wi-Fi sensing market. And that was really on the basis of an ever-expanding IP portfolio. We actually have over 400 patents now, actually 430. Over 200 have been awarded, the others are in application. So we've been in this industry a long time, we created this industry, and we've leveraged all that intellectual property, all the research, all the brains of all the individuals who were part of our story since we started in 2014 to start taking this to market. So we've got relationships with all the major chipset vendors, certainly on the access points we have today, and actually also on some of the client chipsets that we have today. And that was very important as a foundation, making sure the chipsets that are on all these access points, for example, and some of these devices are compatible with supporting Wi-Fi sensing. So we put a concerted effort over a number of years in the early days to get those partnerships in place. We're pleased to say we have the best and widest portfolio supporting us, all the chipset makers in the industry. So that was our first step, IP, leveraging the chipset makers. Then, now we want to get to market. So we have started, actually, the process, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, of going to market with a network of distribution partners. One key partner actually went to market in January 2020, and so far to date, that partner has got us into 130 over 130 ISPs, the smaller ones, tier 2, tier 3s, but very important ones, around the world. And we have actually over 2 million deployments with them. So we really relied on that, not just to get scale and revenue, but to get insights. And I'm going to talk about some of the insights we've got from the market to date since we started that journey. And then, of course, we want to scale. So we're engaged with a number of large tier 1 operators, which we've closed contracts with. Those are really going to give us scale in the US, for example, and over here, I'm pleased to say in Europe that we've closed some as well. So very, very happy that we're continuing that journey, but it doesn't stop here. We want to go above and beyond that. So 2 million deployments at the start, over 7 million. We're actually over 10 million in total across the world. And you can just see some of the locations that we have deployments around the world. But as I mentioned earlier about insights, those 2 million deployments, for example, were very valuable for us to understand, do customers actually see value in an application using Wi-Fi sensing? And the results that we've got out of that is actually 93% of the users that we surveyed across some of these key service provider customers actually continue to use the Wi-Fi motion application month on month. It wasn't a one-hit wonder, it wasn't a gimmick. People saw value, that every month they would continue using the application and the service. That, we felt, was a very important indicator of user engagement. The other user engagement metric that we got some really important insight around was comparing the usage of it compared to other applications, other consumer applications. And actually, I know I've been conservative here, we're at least 2 times more user engagement than others. We've seen instances actually up to 8. Okay, so again, proven value as a result of the deployments we've undertaken over the last 3.5 years, like I said, since around January 2020. Okay, so we want to keep growing. As I said, we're primarily an access-based solution. You probably heard some stats before. Service providers manage today around 1.2 billion homes with Wi-Fi and access points around the world. The service provider is an important route to market for us. There are 1.2 billion gateways or extenders in the world today managed by service providers. And there's a number of applications we've been talking to them about and looking to roll out, such as the obvious one, home security, health and elderly care, assisted living, remotely monitoring vulnerable or elderly people who are on their, at home alone. IoT, smart home applications is another obvious one. And another one that we're really focusing on is around network tools. So how can we help improve the device connectivity in the home and complement those customer support tools so you get a better experience for customers. We've been focusing on that with a number of service providers from an access point-based solution. And we support all the OSs, OpenSync, of course, with Plume. We were at the Purple Summit with Purple OS. Pleased to say we've been able to actually get that as a first containerized and available on Purple onto an access point and demonstrate that live, which we did earlier this week. RDK, one of our biggest customers in the world, in the US, is an RDK-based solution. We helped develop RDK with them, so we've got proven experience with them. But again, we're not stopping there. We actually have this working on other chipsets beyond the traditional ones on access points. We're actually now expanding the portfolio because we want to extend our addressable market to those 3.8 billion other chipsets that are shipped annually. So those are the chipsets that are on actual client devices. So we're bringing all that experience that we have, expertise from what we've learned on the gateway, and we're extending that now to actual chipset-based clients. Okay. And this is really, as I mentioned before, to unlock as many revenue-generating possibilities and use cases as possible. So, in terms of go-to-market, you saw the key performance indicators I showed on the previous screen around user engagement, talking about reducing churn, improving NPS, customer satisfaction. That to us is, I guess, what you would refer to as an indirect revenue generation opportunity. Keeping customers on your network, keeping them happy, adding this service bundled in as a premium service that's already existing there to just add continual value. But you really want to start moving towards getting direct revenue. And those are the discussions we're having with several service providers today in terms of going to market. How can we actually help them drive incremental value-added revenue using Wi-Fi sensing and through various use cases and propositions? So we're going to talk about 3 areas that we've been talking to them around: advanced paid service, a channel to upsell premium service, as well as a basis of a completely new area of a new service package. So we're going to talk about some examples there that we've talked to service providers about today. So the advanced paid service. This one here, this is an example. I'm not saying it's $5. It could be $10. It could be $15. It could be $1. It depends on the market. Everything is market-based, right? Doesn't mean that everything in the US or Canada, I'm Canadian, so the pricing there is actually quite different than the pricing in the US, if you can believe that. Likewise with Europe, likewise with the Middle East or Asia or anywhere else. Everything has to be treated on a market-by-market basis. But that's why we're talking to various ISPs around some of these ideas. So an advanced paid service is putting all that functionality that we have today in Wi-Fi sensing and putting that into a paid service, like in this example, for home security. All these features that we have for localizing, knowing where movement is happening in the home, having a video, not actually a video replay, an actual motion replay and going back to see, well, what happened over a period of time in terms of motion has been proven to be valuable to our customers. So all these sort of features and being able to customize it can be all bundled into an advanced paid service and marketed to users. And we've seen from some surveys and cost studies that customers would be willing to pay for that. In some cases, up to $5 a month, even more. But again, it's on a market-by-market basis. The other one that's very, very important and interesting is using Wi-Fi sensing as a channel to then upsell to. So Wi-Fi sensing, I think to most of us, and we're all in the technology industry, is a relatively new concept. But if you can think about what the general public are thinking, they're going to be thinking, well, what is this stuff? You want to actually introduce this to them in a simple way. And that's what we're working with some service providers on today, is let's not complicate this too much. Let's just get a very simple vanilla base offering out to those customers. It may end up being free of charge. It may be bundled as part of another solution, but introduce the concept of basic do-it-yourself home security. Simple to set up, no hardware, cost-effective, bundled in for free, but use that as an opportunity to upsell to a paid service. And instead of having a saturated market, for example, I don't know how familiar you are with home security and the professional home security, but that is generally a saturated market. Okay, not maybe around 5–10% max of users in any given population have physical home security in their home. But you can actually extend that by introducing more users to the concept of home security by starting off with something vanilla, something basic, and use that opportunity to upsell a camera, for example, or door sensors or anything else that can enhance and be complementary to a professional service, security service. Okay? So that's just another example of $19.99, but that's if you were going to upsell to that $20 a month professional security service. So that's been proven to be another route to market. The final one, as I mentioned earlier, is the basis of a new service package. So for example, I mentioned about remote elderly care, assisted living, assisting your loved ones who are living at home alone and trying to understand their behaviors, their activity patterns, how well they're sleeping at night, how many sleep interruptions they had. For example, if they've woken up 5–6 times and they actually went to the bathroom, because you can actually put, you have your Wi-Fi client in the bathroom, you could know that they woke up 10 times at night and they went to the bathroom. Well, that could be a symptom of an underlying condition that needs to be addressed. And as, a remote caregiver, it may be a family member, it could be a healthcare professional, those insights are very, very valuable. And we see customers coming to us saying, yeah, we would actually pay for that because this is taking care of our loved ones. So this is another opportunity for us to combine the capabilities that we have in Wi-Fi sensing, sleep, behavior analysis, activity patterns of movement, what time did they wake up, what time did they go to sleep, are they moving normally throughout the home as they have over the past few days, has been proven to be valuable and something that we could potentially help our service providers get revenue from those customers on. So I'm going to kind of end off around the fact that there are endless combinations. It's not limited to just those 3 that I showed you. There's so many different use cases that we and our service providers, and in conjunction with surveys from our customers, can build actually together more and more use cases. We talked about smart home, energy management, turning on lights, making things more effective, easier, and simpler in everybody's day-to-day life. But it doesn't actually end just with Wi-Fi sensing data. We can actually combine that data with other data that service providers have that's not related to motion sensing. For example, the signal strength data, the RSSI, you could use this to complement existing tools that they have today to see if the devices that are connected to the network are actually performing well. Do they have enough Wi-Fi strength, signal strength? Combining that data that service providers already have today is proven to be valuable. Other data they have, for example, streaming data from TVs or mobile phones. Combining all that data, aggregating it together, can actually be proven to be another opportunity to provide another use case and proposition to the market and then generate more revenue. So it doesn't end here. If you want to talk to Cognitive Systems about some ideas around that, we're very happy to share some of these insights with you, come up with some ideas, and work with you to try and unlock more revenue streams for you around the world. Okay? Any questions? One question.
Hi. First of all, thank you for a good presentation. Sorry, your application is, CP agnostic, so we can easily use your application regarding of what kind of modem we use, or the application is also available, for example, in Google Play, so we can easily go and install them, or
no?
No?
The application, so it's an interesting question. I think there's 2 parts to that. On the application, we have a reference application that we will provide to our service providers to show them the capabilities. It's just a reference app and say, here's the app, you'll go use it. It can be downloaded from a Play Store for the service provider to use for evaluating the ideas and coming up with a proposition. But not necessarily to the general public. The service provider would then produce an app or a partner. In the case of the one we deployed 2 million around the world with, they have their own app and they offer that to their customers, whether it's through a Play Store or wherever.
But independently, we cannot use it. For example, we download your app and it's, cross working with all of the
Yeah,
devices?
you need to have, you have to have those devices tested and integrated, and that's what we work with our service providers on. So to date with Cognitive Systems, we've actually integrated 25 different platforms. So we are covering, obviously, the very obvious ones you see outside, the name brands of those ODM CPE manufacturers. Most of them are compatible, but very importantly, the chipset. What I said earlier, we're able to work on over 5 different chipset ODMs at the moment. And they're the usual suspects that we have currently today in various CPE. But it's continuing. We're going to continue to do that, and we're trying to address it in the areas that they see opportunity.
And your strategy at the end of the day is to connect it to the C, or still just dealing B2B, you know, just sell to the ISP and then ISP get the money from the users?
Primarily through the ISP, but it's not limited to that. That's why we've gone into the other space as well, that I said, the SOC on the client, the system on a chip. We can get on the devices. That can go over the top. But you know, at the end of the day, we know that there's 1.2 billion homes managed by ISPs. So, you know, we got to focus on that, but there's going to be other B2B opportunities direct that we can address. For example, hotel chains, hotel rooms. Imagine being able to understand the occupancy in a hotel room to be more efficient. Instead of having a housekeeper knock on the door and say, hey, can I come clean the room? You know if somebody's been in the room for a period of time. When are they going to check out? When are they going to check in? There are so many opportunities and propositions to take Wi-Fi sensing to the market, whether it's in a home or in a business environment.
Any other questions to Bob from anyone?
No, you can go to your coffee.
Yeah, so let's go for coffee. So let's have a break. Let's take 10 minutes break and come back. Thank you. Well done. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the last session of the Wireless Global Congress Paris. And I'm super excited with the launch of the Enterprise Connectivity Forum that is going to happen for the next 90 minutes. I want just to share with all of you a little bit of the history of the Enterprise Connectivity Forum. So this is an idea that came up last year, or better, earlier this year, with Andrea Calcano, the CEO of Cloud4Y, and as well Bart Giordano, GM for Ruckus Comscope, that we brainstorm the importance to have a platform where we can exchange ideas, concerns, requirements, success cases, technology evolution, and we really want to bring the voice of the market and not be a technology-driven discussion, but a market-driven discussion, a business-driven orientation on that platform. And for that, we work hard to create this Enterprise Connectivity Forum, and today we launch this platform. We prepare one agenda for this session. Andrea Calcano from Cloud4Y will make a presentation of the forum, our goals and objectives with this initiative, and then we'll have a panel discussion that I will moderate once more with Cloud4Y, with Ruckus, and as well with representatives from Adidas and Carmila Carrefour as well on the panel. With this, I will invite Andrea to come on stage and present to all of you the Enterprise Connectivity Forum. Andrea, welcome.
Thank you, Tiago, for your intro. My role today is introduce the Enterprise Connectivity Forum. Just a few words about me. As Tiago said, I'm CEO, co-founder of Cloud4Y. I spent my last 20 years in Wi-Fi, wireless, 5G, 3G, 2G. It's clear that the background is there. And the goal today is just clarify why it could be really important to drive this Enterprise Connectivity Forum. Many people during the last 2 days, they were sharing why it's relevant open roaming. This for sure, everyone agree. The technology framework need to be applied. There is a probably misconnection between the ecosystem, technology ecosystem, enterprise. They are not there to adopt this very effective technology framework. As an Enterprise Connectivity Forum, we want to accelerate the adoption, the technology, and the framework. Our goal is listen more the enterprise ecosystem. Because sometimes this connection between technology and market is because there is no a lot conversation and really identify well what is going to drive the adoption of the technology framework. This is going to be our goal. As Tiago was just sharing, I believe this is the past presentation, just going to the point. First, everyone agreed that we need to advocate more the market. Many key people in the enterprise, they don't know what is pass point, or really they listen. They don't know what is open roaming. They are aware of all the problems they have, but the solution has to be really advocate in the enterprise market. And this is going to be one key really aspect that as a forum working group we are going to drive. When we talk about advocate, it's not just fair. We need to build a platform that educates the market, educate especially who is driving this organization, this type of decision. The platform for educate them is really to share more consistent with high frequency what good is happening, how this can accelerate their project, their understanding. But, as many people, they start to share today some good success story. Why is it relevant? Because it's clear that many large enterprise, they act in the market when they see there is adoption of the technology, because there are just few innovators. innovators sometimes take the risk if their mindset is there, if the company has really an innovation mindset. But 95% of the market is just following, what is going to be deployed in a large scale. The last and not the least, we want to bring more innovation. Open roaming is not just for guests, it's not just for visitors, it's not just for a managed device, but can open the door on other clear potential innovation like IoT, analytics. No one is implementing a clear framework. How we can leverage analytics, that insight from the framework can bring really a good asset, and also, honestly, to solve better and faster what 100% ecosystem is trying to do with AI ops, implementing AI around the customer experience. When we are going to implement this type of framework, we have massive data insights that can help and can drive innovation. It's clear that well, as technology ecosystem, many times we don't have a lot of enterprise in, and we try to define well how we can onboard more enterprise. First, this community is open. We are not selecting how is big the brand, what the enterprise is driving the market, and is going to be complementary access. It's free. Everyone can be in and can make the contribution, help us to reach the goal. Second thing is a platform where everyone can share their thinking, how really this vision, this new path, how should be. This it's very important because when we have clear advocacy from leaders, it's going to help to accelerate. This is not just for enterprise, also inside technology company. If you consider Cisco or like HP, this big company, well, probably 1% of their team knows well about open roaming or passpoint. This means educational inside the market and internal in the technology ecosystem. The third point is relevant not to build networking. I want to thank you, some very important customers of Cloud for a while, like Adidas, Carmilla, Lacoste. They come here to listen, to be part of the ecosystem. I believe everyone has to be committed to bring customers, enterprise, and to build more collaboration, to build networking, because this is the way that we can accelerate the adoption. The last and not the least, we need more pilot. We need more POC. At the end of the day, technology become a strong adoption in the market only if we drive a lot of POC and pilot around the world. And we show the benefit in the field and not just in few slides. This is one of key aspects, the benefit for enterprise that are coming in. As I was sharing, Tiago, super excited to help the community to drive this innovation with Bart and the WBA. Everyone that wants to be in, give a contribution, is an open community. We need everyone to accelerate that. And, enterprise they want to be in, they have clear path process. We are open to all the markets, all the verticals. I can onboard their company pretty easy, just fill the form in the web or click in the QR code, and is going to be part of this new relevant program that we will try to drive with the high speed, because the risk on the technology framework, if we are not going to be fast, probably not in 2 years, we will not hear anymore about open roaming, and we're going to lose, from my point of view, an incredible opportunity. Tiago, it's all.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, everyone, guys.
Thank you, Andrea. So I propose we move into the panel discussion. So I'd like to invite Sergey, Roman, Mital to join us here on stage. I will propose that, Roman, you stay on the far end chair, and please, Sergey and Mital, you can sit on the next. So my idea is to make this session interactive, so any question for the audience, feel free just to raise your hand, and more than happy to bring you into the panel discussion as well. So you had a quite good knowledge who I am, who is Andrea, so I want to give an opportunity for each of the other participants to present themselves. So starting with Mitel, please introduce yourself, and as well from your company, how do you see the importance of a group like the Enterprise Connectivity Forum?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Mitul Parekh. I am responsible for everything marketing at Ruckus Networks. And in the world of networking, I don't have to introduce Ruckus. We are the market leaders when it comes to delivering AI-driven networking. Now, answering the question, what do we see in Enterprise Connectivity Forum? So look, here's the bottom line, right? Providing the best end user experience and customer experience is of paramount importance. Be it retail, be it hospitality, you name vertical of your choice, you need that happening. And to deliver that best end user experience, customer experience, guest experience, whatever you call it, all of us have to come together. It's not that one single entity, such as us, can make it happen. We need the entire value delivery chain adding their two cents, so to speak, to make it happen. And we come from the perspective of a technology vendor, where we bring the whole infrastructure, but then rest of them have to do their bit.
Thank you, Mital. Sergey, if you can introduce yourself and views of Adidas on being part of this group.
Yeah, thank you for having me. My name is Sergey Komarov. I'm Director of Architecture Connectivity in Adidas globally, responsible for development of networks, Wi-Fi networks including, in offices, retail, warehouses, you name it. So that's it. I'm quite short. Don't need to sell anything.
Yeah, thank you, Sergey. Romain?
Hello to everybody. I'm sorry I'm not in-house right in English to transmit all my ideas, so I have the chance to have Malika. She will translate in English, and sorry to continue in French for this moment. Je m'appelle Romain Thierry, je représente la société Carmila, qui est la foncière des centres commerciaux du groupe Carrefour. On exploite des centres commerciaux en France, en Espagne, en Italie. Et au sein de cette société, je m'occupe des activités de connectivité, notamment du Wi-Fi. Et puis, un peu plus récemment, on a développé une activité de tower company, on fait aussi de la connectivité 4G.
Thank you. So I want to start the panel with coming to the basics. And I will start with Sergey, and then I will go to Romain. So Sergey, why Adidas is looking to the Wi-Fi? Why do you see the need of having Wi-Fi, like you said, on your retail stores, but as well on the warehouses, on the offices? And why do you see that need, but as well, what are the challenges that you face every day?
No, okay, thanks. Yeah, that's a good question. So I have to admit that nowadays, it was said multiple times, but I have to admit that nowadays Wi-Fi is basically mandatory access solution. We don't have any other access solution for our offices nowadays. We're using Wi-Fi only offices nowadays. Yeah, so Wi-Fi is extremely important for office, for warehouse business, and obviously for retail. Speaking of challenges, I think it's a lot. I'm afraid to take too much time to talking about challenges, but of course, among all known challenges, we are moving towards 6E technology with hope to get better spectrum, less interference, better efficiency, of course, less packet loss, and so on. We definitely need reliable Wi-Fi networks. And other challenges we have connecting multiple IoT devices, right? Cool. You know, S for security in IoT nowadays is popular. So yeah, we're suffering with that, with connecting IoT, with seamlessly connecting our clients and provide, of course, great user experience. We're doing everything, we're piloting all kinds of solutions, which is AI-based now. It's popular to understand if it could benefit us with radio management, if it could benefit us with proactive troubleshooting and so on. And last but not least, guest Wi-Fi networks, and consumers are very centric and important for Adidas. We're focusing to onboard to Wi-Fi as one of our sales channels and communicate with consumers through Wi-Fi too. So seamless experience is really important for Adidas, and of course, what could go wrong with captive portal? Everyone knows it, right? So we're doing that too. So we're testing all other solutions, something like that.
Yeah, yeah, very interesting. I will come back to the IoT component as well. I think it's an interesting one. I will come back to that.
Sure. Thanks.
But now expanding to Romain. So from Carmila Carrefour perspective, so what's your view on why Carrefour is investing on Wi-Fi, why you are doing it, and what are the main challenges that you face on your day-to-day operations?
Thank you, Thiago.
When I think about our business line, we have customers that come in, and what's most important for us is the fact that we are based on fundamental elements. When a customer leaves one of our shops, they want to be smiling a lot more than when they came in. And that's maybe what really drives us on a daily basis when we think about what we're doing. In order to accomplish this, we need to bring the customer in, and we want the customer to have the best experience possible within our shops. And going above and beyond this, we want to give them the best services as well, so that they feel that they have been listened to and understood. That's our baseline. And for all of this to come into play, we need to provide the best-in-class service. We spoke about Wi-Fi and connectivity. Everyone thinks that when you are a shop, connectivity isn't important, because everyone is connected everywhere. However, when we come into different cities or different territories, there are lots of people that can't access their network, and it's something that's so important for them in their daily life, especially in France as well as elsewhere. If I think about 5G now, 5G is something, maybe a slight digression here, but without being an engineer, if you don't, 5G will be very difficult to get into buildings. Therefore, if you can't access your 5G network when you're in the shop, having Wi-Fi would be a solution to this. In terms of the challenges now, how can you transform something that is quite complicated, IT networks, to something that is simple? When we put together our different networks in France and Spain and Italy, we saw that no one was really looking after this. It worked by itself. And in order for us to do this, we didn't subcontract, we looked at partners that were able to help us on a daily basis. We were able to choose only 2 of them, and we now have 200 networks, 200 Wi-Fi networks with 2 people. And why? Because we have the best partners possible that are supporting us in our endeavor.
Yeah, thank you, Romain. I want to come back to that improving the user experience, so the best-in-class Wi-Fi. So I want to come back to that discussion, but I will leave that question for later. Let me ask now, Mital. You mentioned, as well as a vendor, you are embracing open roaming. How do you see the importance of open roaming to support companies like Adidas and Carrefour and many others that provide guest Wi-Fi services to their customers, but as well, as we heard, they provide on the same infrastructure many other services to internal teams and to internal operations?
So, in fact, you answered your own question. I'll tell you what. It's getting interesting. If you look from end customer perspective, right? Lot of brand value, they assign a lot of brand value to the experience that they receive in those stores as they shop with you. And one of the key elements of their experience involves great connectivity, be it Wi-Fi, be it different IoT devices. So the first and the foremost thing I would say is need for delivering that best end user experience. Now, when you look at from their IT perspective, right, IT is getting leaner as the enterprise networks or even their store networks are getting more and more complex. They are bringing various IoT devices. In fact, again, end users are now empowered to do more in their stores. What does that mean? Now, IT is getting stressed, right? Just let's park that for a moment. When you talk about security aspect, right? They are not going to implement their networks willy-nilly lest they get hacked. So even the security gets into the play. The whole idea here is that when you sum all these things, put everything together, it's very important that everybody understands that this solution, their end customers need to be provided with something that is foolproof. And it has many facets. I can go on and on, but it's sufficient to say that as IT is getting leaner, IT is getting thinner with lower budget, as the store networks are getting more complex, as they are bringing IoT into the play. There are too many over-the-top services being delivered to end customers. When you put that package together, that's the key driver for somebody like us, vendors, to take a kinder look at open roaming, just one technology, right? I'm not saying that's going to solve everything here, but when you look at open roaming, it does deliver the best end-user, frictionless end-user experience while taking care of all other aspects.
Thank you, Mital. Let me raise to you, Andrea. We are this morning saying open roaming is the silver bullet for connectivity, for guest Wi-Fi. You have been on this area, this market for many, many years. Why you believe open roaming is somehow a game changer from your perspective?
Yeah, I believe now that many people, they try to explain why. Probably it's better to say how, no? Because this is the main question that we have is how can become.
Correct.
I believe that there is just one path, no? It's more try to really connect this technology framework with the market. Because if we are not there, we are missing, probably this connection. And it's clear that Mittal was really sharing. For technology perspective, there is no that framework is open roaming, but what we are missing probably is how this can be reality to be executed. We know that enterprise, they are pretty complex. If there is no tier one enterprise, they are going to accept, not mid-market is going to accept, and no low-end market. It's clear that we need to start from the top and go down. When we are going to see, I believe that this adoption and this framework is going to meet the strategy that Sergey has, or that Roman has, or the other people, they really decide, but not decide for technology perspective. They need to solve problem, as Roman said. They need to be sure that this technology is going to meet their strategy. And I believe at that point we are going to see a critical adoption. Everyone is going to be happy because they are going to reduce cost. They are going to see customer more happy. They are going to import IoT device without any effort. But let's really focus our attention, how we can execute this technology framework in the market.
Yes, thank you, Andrea.
You're welcome.
Sergey, you mentioned about guest Wi-Fi. So what are the main challenges that you really get from providing the guest Wi-Fi services to your customers? So I imagine every day there are probably thousands of people coming into Adidas store all over the world every day. So what are really the challenges that you face? And let's discuss if we can find solutions for that.
That would be good. Yeah, so main challenge is definitely it's a seamless user experience with guest Wi-Fi, smooth onboarding, and that process with captive portals. And of course, it's very important. Adidas is not tracing users because we are very cautious about privacy, right? We are trying to protect data of our consumers, and we are very cautious about it. So we're not tracing users, but we need to have some kind of identity, and we need to have a channel to communicate to consumer, right? So that's extremely important to retain those communication. And that's why we are also looking into open roaming as one of the way to collaborate with our application deployments. So we're really looking into it to improve our user experience.
Okay. User experience, automatic connection, privacy, security.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All key components of open roaming, by the way. And another element that was a lot discussed yesterday is when open roaming is implemented, the number of devices attaching to the network, it can go up by 4 times, 10 times, 15 times. So that brings as well some challenges.
Yeah, of course. But as I mentioned, we don't want to have something uncontrolled, like uncontrolled access to our network, where you get to communicate with new consumers and to reach to consumers. So we are more thinking about it like a new channel to acquire new consumers, right? So we are not against if 3 times more new consumers coming, right? So that should be good. And of course, we all discussed about technologies, QoS and priorities. We have all kind of technical measures already implemented in our network. And yeah, we need to see how we can manage with that basically flow of new users into our networks. But definitely it's not something looking impossible or difficult.
Okay, thank you. Roman, from the example that you mentioned, all the shopping malls that Carrefour manage with several stores inside, many shops inside those shopping malls, do you look into the Wi-Fi more as a convenient service that you provide to your customers that go to the shopping mall, or you look as well as a marketing tool to promote your brand and other services?
C'est les deux.
I think that it says 2 at the time.
Et je pense que c'est très important
And I
que
also
ce
think
soit
that
les
it's very
deux.
important to marry the two together.
Je pense que l'outil
I think
marketing,
that from a
il est la
marketing perspective, that is
de
a
quelque chose
consequence
qui est
of a
utilisé.
service that is being used.
Pour qu'il puisse être utilisé,
And
il
so
faut
that it
qu'il
can be
soit très
used,
bien.
you need it to
Et pour
be
qu'il soit très bien,
functioning,
il faut
and
que
for it to be well
techniquement,
functioning,
ça
you
soit
need to,
bien,
technically
mais que ça
speaking, be on
apporte des
point,
services.
and that you provide a service
Par
to your
exemple,
customers. For example,
quand on a mis en place le Wi-Fi
when
partout
we implemented
dans nos 3
Wi-Fi
lignées en
in
Europe,
all of the
on a
different
offert
shopping
des
malls in
abonnements
Europe,
de VOD.
we
Comme
had
ça,
the
les gens avaient intérêt à
VOD
se
subscription
connecter
services that were also
et ils pouvaient
provided
regarder
with
des
this,
films en
which meant that
streaming
you
en
could
prenant un
stream
café dans le
films
restaurant
whilst
du
you were
centre commercial.
whilst you were having
Et
a
une fois
coffee in the
qu'on
shopping
a
center.
un outil
And
qui est
once you've
bon,
got a tool
qui est
that's
utilisé,
working, that is
eh ben, c'est
seamless,
aussi très important
then
de
it's
connaître nos
also very
clients pour moi,
important
parce que
so that the customer
la
knows that
réalité,
you've
c'est
got this
que
service
on
offered
a
to them.
dans un centre
In
commercial
reality,
entre
in a
2
shopping
et
mall,
12
we've got
millions de
between
visiteurs
2
par an.
and 2 million people
Et
coming in
si
every
on n'a
day.
pas un outil
And if we
pour nous
don't have a
permettre de mieux les
tool that
connaître,
allows
on
them
sait
to
pas
connect to the
s'adapter, on
Wi-Fi
sait pas
services,
évoluer en même temps
then
que
they
nos
won't be
clients.
using the services. It's not
Et donc,
adapted
on
to
va
their
être
needs.
décalé. On va pas leur
They'll
permettre
be that
d'avoir un plus
mismatch.
grand
They
sourire
won't
à la
come
fin de
out
leur visite
smiling, as I
qu'avant.
mentioned
Donc,
earlier,
c'est très
with a
important
smile
que ce
that's a
soit
lot
les
bigger
deux.
than when they came in. So it's
Et
about
je
bringing
sais
the
pas
two
si on
together
parlera
here.
après plus
I'm not
précisément
sure
de la
if we'll
dimension
talk about the
marketing,
marketing dimension
mais on
later
arrive à
on,
faire des choses
but we're
extraordinaires.
able to do extraordinary things.
Very interesting because open roaming brings as well a very strong marketing component, and I can expand the question to Andrea. From Cloud for Why, that you have been managing this marketing component for many of your customers, how important that you see that marketing angle to this type of guest Wi-Fi services?
Yeah, as Cloud for Why, this is we don't do marketing. We enable the brands, to execute their own strategy. I believe that 100% of brands, at the end of the day, they have strategy to make good experience. Experience is not connectivity, is store experience. This means that it's personalization. We have app, the app has to be 100% connect to the customer journey. And it's clear that when you come in, you said open roaming, it's frictionless, high security. But the other question, how you connect the user with this journey? At that point, our role as technology vendor is key, because we jump from why, how, and it's clear that everything has to be streamlined, because as many retail, when they connect user in their website, they are looking for insight to personalize and not to provide the best experience that typically has to be in buyout. This is the retail has the goal around. I see that there is open roaming is going to facilitate the connectivity security, but we are building also this framework that accelerates how this can be integrated with the strategy. And it's not just consumer strategy, and we are not. It's IT strategy, store they have a lot of IT device that sometimes interact with consumer. It's not just IT for data point, but yeah, it's there is there's a huge opportunity there that we know how, but let's execute that.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Of
welcome.
course, if there is any question from the audience, please feel free to just raise your hand and be part of the conversation. Mital, from your perspective, what are the main barriers? Why open roaming is not implemented? So we heard from Sergey, automatic connection, security, privacy. That's all open roaming. Why not? Why is not implemented more?
How many hours do you have? I'm very serious. So let's start with basic, very core element of this is monetization, or who is going to pay for this, right? We can hide that or bring it to light and solve it together. It is not free. When you see end-to-end open roaming network topology, many vendors, many systems have to work together seamlessly in order to deliver that seamless experience, okay? Right from vendors like us, from AP to controller, AP switching controller to identity provider to broker, you name it, right? Somebody has to foot the bill, so that has to be solved. Second one is, we already discovered that data privacy is very important, right? You definitely don't want to go into the data or personally identifiable information of your users. Now that comes into play. You answered that as soon as you turn on open roaming, you might see 4x, 10x, 15x people jumping onto the network. Well, then who is going to scale that network that way? Scalability, right? I can go on and on. Data governance, where is that data residing? Because of course, Andrea is going to say, I'm going to use this data to deliver the best marketing message, personalized marketing message to that end user. That means that data has to reside somewhere and follow the guidelines, regulations of that geolocation or so on and so forth, right? So there are many such things, but I'll stop here. Last but not the least is that end user or even vendor or every single value delivery chain partner is not up to speed. If you ask what's open roaming, what are the pros and cons to every single one of us, we'll have a different answer. So till the time we all don't get onto the same page, the friction is not going to go away.
Okay. So education is as well one key component that we need to bring into the ecosystem. Andrea, from your perspective, what are the barriers? Because everyone looks like everyone is on the same, is aligned on what we want to solve, and open roaming is the solution, but what is stopping more deployments?
Yeah, I believe that Ivan, this morning was pretty clear, no? For sure, if we think on the mobile app, there is no barrier. We can go tomorrow, execute, everything is going to be aligned with the strategy. It's clear that mobile app for large brand, it's no easy task. Well, when they open the app to make integration technology, is internal process, but the path is pretty clear. I believe when we are outside the app, at that point, the onboarding, as Sergey was saying, when it says seamless, it's seamless after the onboarding. But the onboarding is an issue that we need to solve. It's clear that there, we know that device manufacturer, they play big game. iOS and Android, they play the game. There we need to really to bring them. I believe that the big brand, they have more power, probably the technology ecosystem, talking with them. They need to play their role with us, in order to have 100% their commitment to solve that. The other point that was sharing today, it's relevant. Some people doesn't matter, but at the end of the day, I don't believe that enterprise brand, they are open or they are happy to open their network to other brands or telco, they don't pay, they come in. This is educational process to define how really we can protect for enterprise the network with their policy, their strategy. This Caport is one technology, but then Caport is one, but we can find a way, because at the end of the day, Wi-Fi manufacturer, networking manufacturer, they have the power to address this type of issues around. And if we really connect that, we can really go tomorrow, but it's ecosystem, solution. I don't see barrier. I see opportunity, but there is hard work on the table to do.
I
This
look
is the
to
point.
that, Andrea, more as an education, because with open roaming, I can prioritize IDs. I can define which IDs can I attach to my network. So the framework, the standard defines all that. So it's, for me, it's more education. But you raise a very important topic. We need to bring the device manufacturers, the end user, device manufacturers into this discussion, because we know we all use some on iOS, Android, Samsung devices every day, all the time. Let me here come back to Romain. How urgent is for Carrefour to move from this captive portal experience to a fully automatic experience, facilitating the attachment to the network?
Quand je pense à un projet,
When I think about a project,
et que je pense à nos clients,
I
je
think
pense
about
à
our
mon père.
customers, I think about the end
Mon
goal.
père, c'est un monsieur qui
And
a
I think about my
75 ans.
father. My father, at 75, he's 75 years old, and he calls me twice a week because he wants to print something with his computer. And what's important for me here is that Wi-Fi needs to be adopted. There needs to be uptake, and for there to be uptake, it needs to be simple.
Quand mon père vienne dans le centre commercial,
When my
il se
father
connecte
goes
tout
to the
seul.
shopping mall, he
Parce
needs
que
to be
ne serait-ce que
automatically
ce
connected to the Wi-Fi,
petit,
because just the
marqueur de
fact
connexion,
to connect
ça peut être un élément qui
automatically,
fait qu'on ne se connecte pas. Et
or
donc,
the
si on
fact
se
you have to
connecte pas,
sign
on
up to
appelle
connect,
service,
that's
on connaît pas
something
le
that
nos
people
clients.
won't do, my father being the first.
Beaucoup d'attentes dans l'open roaming
Therefore,
pour
I've got a
faciliter
lot
ces
of
connexions.
expectations from open roaming to facilitate connectivity.
Makes sense. Okay, there is one question here. So if I can get the microphone. While the microphone is coming, I will raise another question is, let's imagine that, yes, you implement open roaming on your guest Wi-Fi services. How important is for the companies and the brands that you represent to be able to interact with that customer when I have a completely automatic? So I enter one shop, I attach automatically. How important is for your brands to send me a message? Romain, you can start.
Sur ces sujets-là,
For these types
ça va
of
nous
issues,
permettre
this will
d'avoir
allow
plus de gens
us
connectés au Wi-Fi
to connect
et
more
donc
people
de
to our
leur
Wi-Fi
parler
services,
davantage. Et leur
and also
parler,
to speak
c'est,
about our Wi-Fi
leur
services
dire
and not
bonjour
more.
quand ils
To
arrivent.
say, okay, hi,
Ça,
welcome to the
quand
store
on a
when they come in.
un mécanisme
And for this, we need a
rapporté-captif qui
mechanism
nous permet de le
that
faire,
will
on
allow
va
us
augmenter
to
notre capacité
increase
de dire
our
à nos clients
capacity
bonjour.
to speak to our
On veut
customers, to
aussi,
say, welcome to the store when they come
augmenter la
in.
capacité
We also
de
want
dire à
to
notre client,
increase our capability to
t'appelles Martin, tu as
say,
25
oh,
ans, tu es
your
peut-être
name is
intéressé
Martin,
par
you're
des jeux vidéo,
25
et
years
donc,
old, I
quand
guess
tu
you're
arrives,
going to
je
go
vais te
to
donner une
this
promotion
aisle,
spécifique pour
and
les
this
jeux
is what we've
vidéo.
got on promotion
donc,
for video
tu ne
games,
seras
because
pas,
that's what you tend to buy when you come
un
into our store.
destinataire parmi tant d'autres
You're
de la
not
promotion
just one
sur,
person in a crowd,
des
I know
chaussures de
exactly who
femme,
you
mais
are.
tu auras eu
I'm not
quelque
going to say
chose
that
pour
we've
toi.
got women's shoes on sale, I'm going to say that the video games are on sale for you.
Merci,
And when
tu
Martin
m'as
leaves, we'll say
visite.
thank you for coming
Comment est-ce
to
qu'on
our
peut
store,
s'améliorer pour
and how
toi?
can we improve for
Et
next
si on
time?
peut le faire avec
And
tout
if
le
we
monde,
can do this with
en fait, on a des
everyone
leviers
coming
qui
through our
seront le plus
doors,
adaptés
this
à
is
nos
a tool
clients.
that will be the most adapted to our
Very
customers.
interesting. I bring the angle that implies as well that the Wi-Fi IDs needs to be somehow aligned with the CRM and the customer databases that you already have. So that's another important angle to be sorted. Sergey, for Adidas, how important it is to interact with your customers?
Yeah, I would say it's extremely important. Yeah, so I don't want to go into too much marketing, but you know, Adidas' mission is changing the life of people through sport. So it's not just to send the message. We need to interact with consumers, and we need to drive consumers to change their lives, right? So that's why it's really extremely important. We cannot just allow access to network and then do nothing, right? It makes no sense. We want to interact. We want to receive feedback, NPS, all kind of interactions with consumers.
Fantastic. That's why we have been driving in WBA as much as possible the technologies like the carport, venue URL, that is a mechanism to send message to the devices. iOS, Android have implemented, but still there is a lot of work to be done, done on that area.
And now we come into practice.
But this gentleman has a question, please.
Thank you for the opportunity of giving me the mic. Just two things I would like to find out, right? I come from an environment whereby I'm a service provider to enterprise customers. Some of the enterprise customers want, based on co-creation, they want some service that we call sponsored data, okay? Sponsored data say that a customer, let's assume that a customer has visited maybe Camila or Adidas. During the time they were there, they have unrestricted access to internet, leveraging on the guest Wi-Fi, right? By the time they are out of the store, they do not have access to the Wi-Fi anymore. So, but you still have the data of the customer, so to speak. You can send message to them, right? By the time you're sending message to them, right, they now want to click on something that will enable them get certain information about your product or services. In doing that, they need to access the internet or broadband. As at that time, they're already outside the shore of your environment where you're providing them the free guest access. Now, this sponsored data enable them to consume the service, either on service operator provider, okay, maybe mobile provider. They will consume the service leveraging on the mobile provider internet access, and the cost, okay, the broadband access will not be charged to their bundle on that mobile provider's network. Rather, the maybe Adidas or Camila will be paying for the consumption of those internet access to see maybe a YouTube video of how they can get certain information about Camila or certain product of Adidas. They can view and see if you use this, this is going to translate to. What is the forum doing in terms of able to have a seamless capability for the customers to leverage those broadband access, okay, outside the shore of the Camila or Adidas? That's one question. The second question from my side is that because captive portal give you capability to be able to still reach the customer, okay, open access, will it be able to, working with device providers, such that the devices already have an ID of the users? So when you walk into open access environment, you don't need to start giving certain information that maybe the store or wherever needs to reach out to you. By the device, okay, maybe in network, you say EMEA, I mean, the identifier of that devices, we automatically make it available for you to be contacted without actually putting certain information. Because sometimes if I walk to a store, as an example, and they say pop up and say put my ID or put my whatever, I got pissed off. I'd rather use my mobile data than getting my information in, because it's taking my time before I get to have access to your guest Wi-Fi. So what is the connectivity to ensure that the devices itself can automatically be picked that enable you to reach out to that customer without demanding for them to put information in that? What is the open access doing about, or open roamings, if I can use that word? What are they doing? Is that in perspective, or is that something, is it a challenge that they're working on? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your questions. I think we can start with the second one that is much easier to respond. So yes, open roaming will do the automatic connection to the Wi-Fi. Each device will have one unique ID that is only attached to you, to your persona. It's your own ID, and as soon as you enter the coverage of the Wi-Fi network, the device will attach. You don't need to touch the device, it's going to attach completely automatic. And from that moment on, the network, the owner of the network, can inject messages into your phone. I don't know if Mital or Andrea or anyone wants to complement
this one. Yeah, it's probably not what has to be solved for open roaming. That Thiago was pretty clear. No, this is seamless connection, frictionless connection. That if I am I use the network in Adidas store, I onboard myself as profile open roaming in Adidas store. It's clear that if I'm going to visit, sorry Sergey, but like Nike, you know, they are not happy, no? That they are providing free connection of Adidas profile. At that point, what we are trying to solve, they work together. I believe the retail big brand, and they are open to find a way where if I am board myself on Adidas, I'm inside Nike, probably there will be some sort of agreement on that exchange where, you know, I don't need to onboard again, but we are not there. For sure, if Nike is going to be really open to offer free open roaming, I'm Adidas customer, I'm going there, connect by Adidas user, but I don't see there the perspective. But I believe there will be way, and it's something very relevant that in other market we did, or in other technology framework, where this data exchange is going to help, is going to accelerate the adoption, but I believe it's next phase. It's not this first phase. I believe that there will be this need. For the second question, honestly, is no open roaming. Telco, they can do what they want. Especially the mobile that own your device, they can do what they want. They can do sponsored data, they can do what they want. No? Who owns the device, like, you know, your mobile operator, if there is agreement between the brand and mobile operator, they can build what they want, what they are looking for. There is technology absolutely to do that. But it's not open roaming. It's not what we solve as an organization. It's a different matter.
That actually give opportunity to extend marketing capability beyond just your store or your environment. Okay? And like you said, the service provider can make such opportunity available to the store and then let them have access to their own assets in terms of number of...
It's more forward the top, I understand.
Then in terms of open roaming that you're talking about, the use cases that you brought up is actually interesting. Adidas or Nike, I mean, apologies, Sergi. And I walk into any of those stores and I'm saying that I've seen a product from you. I want to compare and contrast the quality and the pricing with the other competitors. Why staying in the environment, okay, that to either steer me away or steer me to give me the capability to do that so that I can make a decision of what I'm going to buy or instant buying decision or what have you. Or better still, if you are not going to allow me to steer to other competition, staying within your space and be able to connect me to your other store that may give me certain level of capability beyond what the immediate store can give. Maybe it's something that Open Roaming will be looking at in terms of maybe various version of what's going to be coming up, but there are a lot of opportunity in terms of fleshing it out from customer perspective. What do they want to see? What experience do they want to have? And working from outside inside to be able to get the best experience and adoption of the solution.
Yeah, I just have to agree. I don't see a question here. So
Yeah,
there are many
correct.
opportunities, and we're going to explore that. That's it.
Yeah, maybe I can raise a question based on this comment. How Adidas and Carrefour, they see the opportunity for partnerships with some of your other companies that somehow work on your ecosystem or even partners. I'm a big soccer supporter, football supporter, so how do you see partnership, for example, with clubs? So Adidas ID from Wi-Fi could be used in stadiums, in other locations.
Well, setting that boundaries and interconnection relationship is always not so easy question, right? So I would say we cannot discuss it on stage, really saying we have this and this relationship and now we establishing peerings with someone, right? It's not that clear and not that simple, but definitely we need a set of tools which allow us to do that. And would open roaming will be available, and with that tool set, definitely we will look into it.
Oh, this is no, Tiago, because I spent a lot of time in the soccer side, talking with Juventus, ML, my internet, Miami, things. No, it's clear that open roaming in this case, when there is very good link. At that point, I see more real that, like Juventus accept Adidas profile in their network, especially if there's a good link in the strategy, because they build a lot of joint personalization. Because at the end of the day, Juventus jersey, it's Adidas jersey. If they can accelerate many times, the brand they pay also for player. There is But this is something that, I'm not a big believer that everyone is going to have access to enterprise, but there is no portion or regulation or groups of entities that build the same strategy, but probably it's not 100% for everyone. I believe it's good that is going to be relevant for the consumer perspective when we talk about strategy. It's going to be effective too for the consumer.
Yeah, thank you. Romain, any comment from your side?
I think that it's important to know who your customer is. Off the top of my head, I don't know how we could partner up with our competitors, for example. Maybe partnerships that would be gradual or incremental, maybe for a month, and then we'll see how that works. So partner by partner approach. But as we have not yet come up to this, I don't really have an answer to your question. I'm not sure that maybe when we will have streamlined open roaming and made it available to all, then we will be able to look at consensuses between partners. I'm not talking about anything extravagant, I'm talking about sending an email or what is the information that we have and what is Wi-Fi giving us in our stores. Therefore, if I know someone who comes into Carrefour and I know what they're doing in my store, but I don't know what they're doing in other stores, so I don't know how I would partner up with them, but it's food for thought.
Yeah, thank you. Mittal, why do you believe now is the time to action and accelerate open roaming?
So, a couple of things, right? The very first one is that there are many research studies on this one, that us and customers, we assign a brand value, we like or dislike certain businesses based on the experience that we receive at their location. How many times have you read reviews on various websites on hotels and resorts that Wi-Fi sucked? I'm not going to book them next time around. That means there's a direct loss to your revenue as a business if you are not delivering the best end customer experience. And that is intensifying now. 10 years ago, it wasn't this apparent. Right now, every end customer believes that they are empowered to their own opinion. They put it out there and they make sure that 10 of their friends don't book or don't buy from that shop. That's the very first one, that the time is now where we have necessary ecosystem partners identified, we have technologies identified, we all are here on the stage, then why not do it? The second one is, we have evolved, we have reached that level of sophistication where we can send out personalized marketing messages that would prompt all of us to buy something impulsively. Like they'll push you a message that says, if you make $100 worth of purchase, 20% off, yeah. Right? You want to lock them in. And this is the time. So we have the tools, we have this marketing need to sell more, sell immediately, and we vendors, we bring the right technology from APs to switches to backend to AI, you name it, right? Then why not do it now? This is the time.
Correct. Correct. Any other comments, Sergey? You believe is the time to move forward on that experience?
Definitely, that's why we're here and we're supporting this group, right? So we really hope that our voice will be heard among vendors, right? And we're here to do some tests, POCs, trials, to understand how we can facilitate to adopt the technology.
Thank you. Andrea?
Yeah, we are big believers, no? It's time, when you say, why now? I believe that there is no another time, huh? Sometime when there is a technology evolution and there is big effort of the ecosystem, if you don't see the adoption, probably we are going away on one of the best opportunity. And we're not talking just about the consumer experience, because people, they are missing, there is a key factor, security. There is a way to build framework for the future to really host evolution of the technology. because also the evolution of Wi-Fi 7, no, is there is an assumption that this framework, they are there, but they're not there. Again, innovator, people, they have this skill, but they have also this, they feel the priority, to help the ecosystem to go there. It's time. I believe that we are going to see many large adoption working all together. No?
Yeah, Andre, one thing, yesterday was mentioned that the click rates on login portals is decreasing. So we as consumers, we don't want portals. So
yeah,
you see that as well?
I don't see, honestly. You know why? Because the consumer, first one, if you see what is the user base that use Wi-Fi, they don't care about the friction, but they want Wi-Fi, it's typically the right audience that walk through the store, checking, the product, use the app. Yeah, there is friction, but they want to come in because sometimes they need to come in on that. But we are missing the large portion that is not going to accept that. It's not just from my point of view say that we are seeing a decrease for people that connect with captive. It's not true, because if you said, Andrea, how many contact us requests? I love the guy from EMEA was showing how in the last 6 months they receive the same request of the last few years on Wi-Fi offload. When we see the inbound contact us, they are not writing for pass point, they're writing for captive portal. This is, is our missing. Yeah. The market is not aware, because it's writing to looking for captive portal. I believe that, what we said, why we need, but it's we need to be happy if the click is going up, because it's not, from my point of view, that the motivation.
Yeah.
That is
interesting, because we saw as well yesterday the case of Boeing Wireless at the airports, that when they implemented Passpoint Open Roaming, the number of devices went up by 10 times. So there is still a big part of the market that somehow is not connecting.
This is the point. We have seen, just to close with one of our customers, he's doing crazy number of guest user with captive. When they turn on like a pass point with people on board, they jump from 200,000, 5 million. Yeah. This is the point. It's like it's happening for a company like Adidas. If they onboard a 20 million app user, after they see all their customers to connect. It's easy math. There is. I don't believe that we need to be sophisticated on this math.
Yeah. Roma, is now the time to move this experience?
Oui.
Yes.
Et avec une certitude immense.
And we've got huge certainty going forward. If we want to continue offering Wi-Fi, but not just as a guest service, but as something that is a tool for them as well, so that we can create additional wealth for them, so that we can better know our customers, so that we can better connect to them. Yes, we need to go for it. We need to go full steam ahead. And I believe that we're going to come across different barriers. We've spoken about this, how do you share data, but we will find solutions to these issues, and as soon as it's ready, we want to go for it.
Yeah, thank you. Let me bring one question that I would like to get your feedback, all of you. Changing a little bit now the subject, focusing on the connectivity, the Enterprise Connectivity Forum. So what you would like to see on this group? So we are starting this group today. What you like to see happening in the next, let's say, 12 months? 1 year from today, what we should have accomplished? From each one in individual perspectives, of course.
Sure. So from our perspective, we would like to see more end customers, such as Adidas is here, why not Nike, for example, right? Let's all come together.
Better,
right?
Better, no.
Sorry?
Doesn't work.
Doesn't work well, at least.
Yeah, doesn't work well.
No, the point is this, right? Let's all come together. So assembling the right value delivery player is very important. You know why? Because if we, and the second one, very important for the next 12 months, as I see it, is raising awareness. There are a lot of unanswered questions on who is going to foot the bill, what about trust, what about privacy, what about data, you name it, how will we, security, exactly, thank you, scalability, so on and so forth, right? Let's raise awareness. Nobody is going to read 135-page specification document, right?
Correct.
So that should be an achievable goal for the next 12 months from our perspective.
Sergey?
Yeah, for us it's definitely access to information, to standards, and as you say, we need to learn more about technology, and as we could communicate within the group, I hope we also could get some improvement maybe in technology and provide some feedback. Yeah, and definitely we need to learn new things and adopt new technologies. That's where you get to learn.
Thank you. Andrea?
I'm a tech guy, math guy, no? I'm more number guy. I believe that as a group, one clear goal that we should have, at least now, I don't know, 250 million of users with ID profile from enterprise at 10 large network is done. We don't need the first step is not just to implement on the network side, to see user adoption. Because if we increase, if we count just the number of access point enabled with pass point, with the open roaming, we are missing the point. We need the adoption at the consumer level. And where we are now, I believe that Ivan was underlying well the statement. There is a clear way to go there, convert all the mobile app users where we solve all this topic, and after we can go over. But if we focus outside, probably it's going to be a lot of friction. It's clear that you want to very seamless experience and security. We need to make some selection, and we have seen also with the grocery, in Belgium,
Yeah.
It's becoming, Olympics coming in Paris. Why we don't board all the mobile app provider with profile? And they can provide user, very what they're looking for. I believe that we need to be number driven and not just focus on number of access point, or number of consumer with profile. No, it doesn't work. It's simple, from my point of view, like the adoption.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Homa, what you like to see being achieved on this group?
Moi, que la conclusion, ça soit que
I think that the
papa,
conclusion
dont
needs
je
to
parlais
be
tout à
that my
l'heure,
father, who I mentioned
quand il
earlier,
aille partout,
I want
en
him to be able
France,
to
à
go wherever he
l'étranger,
wants, in
il se
France
connecte
and abroad,
facilement.
and he wants to be, and he is able to
J'ai
connect.
pas la bonne compétence technique pour
I don't
savoir
have the
comment,
technical
avec quel
competencies
format,
to
une
know
app,
how,
une app,
what
etc.,
format,
mais
what this would look
la
like,
finalité, c'est ce
but
dont
the
je rêverais,
end
voilà.
conclusion would be that.
Thank you. I'm going to share a secret and say a big thank you to Sergey and Homa, because one of the big device manufacturers that is member of the Alliance, and I talk a lot with them, they made me a request. Tiago, we need your help to bring more the voice of enterprise companies and the enterprise customers to raise and make aware what is the needs that you guys have. And just by having this conversation is already helping me to have arguments to go to the device manufacturer and say, this is what companies like Adidas, Carrefour are requesting. And I think that platform is something that we need to help each other and move forward all together.
Definitely. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Okay, and with this, let me see if there is any final question from anyone. And okay, one last one.
Sorry. Looking at open roaming capability, okay, of leveraging on the specific unique ID of those devices, all right? So, is this something that, how do they protect the data of the users in terms of data protection? Okay, that's number one. Number two, because it's open roaming, irrespective of where you are going or where you must have gone across the globe, the uniqueness of that device, it makes it easier for them to have data. Where is this data going to be stored? How do we manage the data?
Yeah,
okay.
I'll be happy to answer that. So regarding the privacy and the security, so open roaming has a specific legal framework where there is a privacy policy that needs to be implemented, not only by the network provider, but as well by the company that provides the ID. So there is that legal framework that needs to be implemented to comply with the privacy regulation. The second topic, yes, open roaming allows roaming globally, but is as well flexible that myself as a network provider or even as a one identity provider, I can select where do I want to do roaming. So I can do roaming with everyone or I can be selective. And I think that is one of the big elements of development in the standards to bring that flexibility. Because at the end of the day, we know that not every single network provider and identity provider wants to roam with each other. So we want to give that capability, but at the same time, give the ability to select who do I want to work with.
Fantastic. Thank you for the response.
Thank you. And with this, once more, thank you, Mital, Sergey, Andrea, Roman. Thank you for your participation.
Thank you. Just thank you for joining.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Sergey, thank you. Andrea. So, thank you so much. Okay, so you are the brave ones. You stay until the end. I will make myself as short as possible. I just want to share a couple slides. So once more, thank you for all the companies that sponsor the event. Without your support, we could not have this type of sessions. I want as well to leave the calendar of the Wireless Global Congress for 2024. For those of you that are members, you already know we have one event in each geography, one in Asia-Pacific region, one in Americas, and one in the EMEA, Europe, Middle East, Africa. So we'll be in New Delhi, Dallas, US, and we'll be back here in Paris for next year. And with this, I just want to say thank you for attending the Congress, staying until the end. For those of you that are traveling, safe travels, and see you soon. Thank you.